Welcome to Nerd on Nerd with me, Ellie Kempster.
Me, Liam Underwood, and some special guests.
We're joined this week by Kat and Amanda.
Hey!
Hello.
I realised that this could technically be considered a Valentine's Day special again. Because last time we had Kat on was a Valentine's Day special. And now when this goes up, it'll be just in time for Valentine's Day again. Because it'll go up
that's
a couple of days
true.
late. So, technically, happy Valentine's Day.
I'll just sign off now then if we're doing a Valentine's Day special.
No, it's okay. I think everyone has love in their lives, but in different ways. Yours is more
Sure.
abstract.
Yeah, I've got abstract love going on, yeah, good.
I'm pretty sure Ellie's family loves her. That's not
Sometimes.
That's
abstract.
true, Amanda. I do feel like that's a bit of a cop-out on Valentine's Day, though, to sort of be like, well, I'm loved by my family.
For years before I met my husband, I often just got a little box of chocolate from my grandma. So,
Oh, that's sweet.
That's. I'm not saying that's, I'm all fine with that. I would not say no if my family bought me chocolates for Valentine's Day, but I don't think I can walk around being like, I got a Valentine.
You should say that a bit louder so they can hear you.
They're not in.
Are they not? Oh, that's a shame.
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
Maybe make them listen to this episode before Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's a
hint,
plan.
hint.
Yeah. So, Amanda and Kat have both been on the episode, on the podcast before, but never together. So,
No.
this
History is happening.
Yeah, this is a
it's exciting.
monumentous occasion. And I'm feeling very outnumbered.
Are Kat and Amanda the guests that we've had on the most anyway?
Probably.
They are, right?
Kat's only been on one solo episode before.
Oh, you've done specials.
Yeah.
Yeah,
done
which
a
I don't
few
really
of those.
count.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
It's alright.
Sorry.
I think this makes
Kat made a
Amanda
face
now
at
our
Liam.
most frequent guest.
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this? I think it's my third time.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
So you were tying because we had Jason and Lee on twice.
Yeah, individually and then together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, now Amanda takes the lead. It's all exciting, really, isn't it?
Do I get a prize?
That's what we do here at Nerd on Nerd.
No. Well, the prize is you get to be on the podcast 3 times.
Yay!
Right, this is a long introduction. This episode, we're talking about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Season 1 and the Christmas special. But
Yep.
before all that, you know what time it is.
Catching up with Ellie, Liam, Kat and Amanda.
Hey! Well done.
Thanks. Don't patronise me.
Well, you had like a moment of panic on your face then.
Well, it's because suddenly we've got guests on and suddenly you're changing up who says what on the show and I don't like it.
Well, normally I handle a lot of that stuff, but because we've got
Yeah.
guests on, I'm trying to make it a bit more interactive with you so people don't forget that you're here.
God, you're mean today.
No, you go a bit quiet when we have guests on sometimes, so I'm getting you more involved.
Cool. Thanks, Liam.
That's alright. This is our lovely lady special.
Sorry, lovely lady special.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are
we roll
you
with
just
that.
so intimidated that there's 3 women right now?
I think that's what's happening. He's definitely a bit shyer than usual.
I
think
am.
he's
That's why I
scared.
keep going to Ellie to do stuff, because I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get it wrong and the women will judge me.
We're judging you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Catch me up.
Who are you asking?
Let's start with Amanda.
Well, let's see. I was sick for a long time, so I've been home a lot. But yesterday, I went out. My best friend Jessica graduated from nursing school on Friday. And
Well done.
so we had a ladies' brunch for her yesterday, and we all dressed as nurses.
Of course.
And most people had very appropriate, just like scrubs on. My friend Marianne dressed as one of the doctors from Doctor Who.
That makes sense.
Yeah, my friend Colleen had like a, I don't know, like 1950s style nurse's outfit. And then I, of course, had a sexy nurse costume from Halloween 10 years ago.
So yeah, that maybe stood out then.
Yeah, I had to, like, I put, like, a sweater and stuff on, and, like, I was trying to, like, tame it down. I mean, like...
Were you expecting other people to have gone down that road as well then?
I thought maybe one other person would have that sort of costume. No, just me.
Just you.
Just me. But I didn't, like, there's, like, a choker that's, like, part of it that you, like, clasp together. I didn't put that, like, I didn't clasp that for brunch.
I mean, to be honest, if someone said to me, you need a nurse outfit, the first place I'd go to would probably be somewhere like Ann Summers, which is like a UK lingerie type shop. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's the sound of, like, disgust from both Ellie and Kat there.
But any
weird...
excuse to bring up Ann Summers.
Yeah.
It's probably the first time I've mentioned Ann Summers on the podcast.
Yeah, on the podcast. You see, Amanda, Ann Summers isn't just a lingerie shop. It has a section at the back, which I'll leave to your imagination what that involves.
Yes. I can understand how maybe you've heard of it before in conversation with Liam.
Yeah.
I wish they sponsored us, to be honest.
Mention them a few more times on the podcast and they might.
They've got a Twitter presence. We could tag them in it.
Stop turning Amanda's catching up with into a trying to get advertisers.
Sorry, Amanda.
It's alright. At least it wasn't Fleshlight.
Yet.
So, yeah, we had brunch, and that was fun, and then we went back to my friend Laura's house and had mimosas and chatted, and then we played, I don't know, it's a phone game. It's called, like, Heads Up.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we know what that is, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of like, I don't know, charades almost. I don't know. Like, you're trying to get the person, like, for listeners, if you're not familiar, you hold the phone up on your forehead, and it has, like, a name or a word, and you have to, the other people are trying to get you to guess what you're holding up. So we played that.
There's a really good skit in the US office where they're doing that.
Oh, yeah. For Diversity Day.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Well, there's one category. We killed it at Harry Potter, but, you know, once we did that round, we kept trying to change categories. And there was one that was accents or voices. And so it was, you know, like going through and doing, like, different voices. And we were all like, oh, no, this will be horribly offensive and awful. And, like, luckily they just did, like, accents mostly of, like, white people, so that, like, we didn't
That's fine then.
ever have to, like, be horribly offensive. But it was really funny. At one point I was guessing, and apparently it was Scottish, and my friend just went, "Ach!" Like, that was the only thing she said. And then one of my other friends was up guessing, and Bill Cosby popped up, and all of us that were giving hints just went, "Oh." And she went, "I'm just gonna skip whatever this is," and just skipped it. And then it, like, tells you at the end which ones you skipped, and she was like, "Oh, okay, I understand why you skipped Bill Cosby." I mean, we were all like, we just froze, like, can we do that anymore? Is that appropriate? Is it not? So, yeah, that was fun. And then I had a double date last night with my husband and my friend Kate and her fiance.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, we went and saw the Oscar-nominated animated shorts, which I will talk about later.
Ooh. Looking forward to that. It's funny you should mention Heads Up, because Kat played a very similar game. Not quite the Heads Up version, but just like you stick it on a post-it note. But she did that at
it's
work
basically
the other
the
day.
Office version. Apparently, it's called Forehead Detective, which, like, makes sense, but it's also a really dumb name.
Yeah,
I've never heard anyone call it
I
that.
know. Well, we were looking it up after I told Liam we were playing it at work, and it came up on Google as Forehead Detective.
I've never heard it referred to that yet.
No.
I've heard
That's
it called,
weird.
like, Celebrity or 20 questions or something. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
you ask, yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard anyone give it a name. I think it just seems to happen. You're at a party and then someone's like, I'm going to write names on a thing, and you're like, oh, we're doing that game.
Yeah. I just called it the Post-it note game, and Liam knew exactly what I meant straight away. Yeah. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. Who were you when you played it, Kat?
Theresa May.
Yeah.
Which I guessed. I think I guessed right first because there was like a room of like 11 or 12 of us playing it, and we were just going around, and each person had a turn to ask the question. And I think I got mine in like 2 or 3 questions, but only because someone like really gave the game away by basically being like, I think I asked a question like, is this person popular? And they responded something along the lines of, for the wrong reasons, and I just assumed that it was a politician, and then
fair.
It was between Trump or Theresa May, so
yeah.
Yeah. Working hard, weren't you?
It was like meant to be this team building thing. We played that for like 2 hours and then went bowling and went for Thai food. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with my work taking me bowling.
And for Thai food.
But yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to go next?
Wow, this is so smooth. That's so profesh.
It's amazing because usually, like, the person throwing it off would be me, but I'm watching Liam and I'm like, I know Liam's meant to say something here. Liam knows he's the one that should be saying something here, but I'm watching him freeze up, and I've never had this before, and it's kind of beautiful, and I love it.
It's all these intimidating women. That's what it is.
It just
sure.
confuses me that you're so frozen up because you and Ellie are co-hosts. Kat is your girlfriend of 9 years. And you and I co-host a podcast together, so it's not like you don't know any of us.
Yeah, why are you so afraid?
So I should essentially be like the glue, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you're not the glue at all. You are the anti-glue, whatever that is.
Water?
Yeah, no, it's not water, but let's not get distracted by what anti-glue is.
Okay.
It's something bouncy, right? Like a bouncy trampoline.
What?
Yes, Liam, the opposite of glue is trampoline.
Trampoline. Oh my god.
Right, okay, I'm going to get my head in the game now, and I'm going to start hosting. It's because I'm trying to give Ellie an opportunity to host this, but she clearly doesn't want to, so...
No, I'm fine, I'll host.
No,
Kat,
here we go.
Kat, what have you been up to? You got anything for catching up with?
I think Ellie should host, to be honest, because this is just going terribly wrong. But anyway, what have I been up to? So, the team building thing, which I think is weird because I'm a contractor and I'm only there for like another month and a half, and yet they're inviting us on team building stuff, which I don't mind.
That is slightly weird.
Yeah, but I got the Friday afternoon off, so I'm not complaining. But,
yeah, no.
Yeah,
you got paid for it, didn't you?
Huh?
You got paid for the Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I logged my usual Friday hours, so... But, we went bowling, and I'm shit at bowling, and, we had the Thai as well, that was good. What else have I been up to, Liam? I can't remember. Bearing in mind that I was also ill the other week, and literally just binge-watched Netflix stuff, which I will talk about later.
Yeah, well, there's one thing that 3 of us all did.
Or I was going to leave that to you.
I was going to leave it to Ellie.
All right.
Well, have you got other stuff, Ellie, that you've been up to?
No.
So I'll let Ellie take the Super Bowl one then.
Wow. Oh, I did go shopping yesterday. That's worth a mention.
Is it?
No.
Did you get anything good?
I bought some clothes and I ate some cake. It was a pretty good day. I was away from Liam, so it was blissful.
That's mean.
No, that's understandable.
You know what? That reminds me, right? So, Amanda might find this interesting because I've already told Kat and Ellie, and they both reacted with confusion and disbelief. But my personal trainer told me the other day that it's okay for me to eat cake. I mean, just look at Ellie's face right now.
No, it's not even just that she said it's okay to eat cake. Liam showed her a picture of a whole celebration cake that he'd gotten. Did you just buy it for yourself?
Is this the picture
and then
had on Twitter where you ate a quarter of it?
Yeah.
Yes. And then his personal trainer said that's fine.
Yeah.
So I've said he should fire his personal trainer.
I agree.
No,
I mean, he does need to gain weight, but that's not the way to do it if you want to get muscle.
Said if cake is the way to gain the calories that I need, then let there be cake.
She said it just like Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, exactly the same.
She's very hip, my personal trainer.
My theory is that your personal trainer is actually a witch who lives in the woods, and she's going to fatten you up, and then you're going to get eaten in an oven, and that's what's going to happen here, Liam.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Did you tell her that you've thrown up after your personal trainings yet?
Yeah. Well, we started the last session when she was like, how did last week go for you? I was like, well, I was sick at the end of it, wasn't I? And she was like, yeah, you didn't look good. And I was like, no. So she's aware.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hide things from her, but equally, because I said to her, she said to me, how's the eating going this week? And my exact response was, not great. I brought a cake for 10 people to celebrate. And she said, what are you celebrating? And I said, the fact that I have cake. And then I said, that's probably not good, is it? And she was like, well, you are trying to put on weight. So if that helps you get the calories that you need, then that's okay.
Okay.
But it's not just calories.
Yeah, but I counted the calories for that day.
No, but it's not just calories. Don't say yes.
Over.
I said it's not just calories, and your response was yes, but it was only a certain amount of calories. That's not what I said, Liam.
She did say as long as I still get protein in, which I do for my meals.
Oh, I just don't believe it.
The thing is, right, you're not a qualified personal trainer, so I'm going
I don't think she is.
Over you.
She doesn't sound like one.
She told you to eat a cake.
Yeah.
Well, a part of me is worried that she's like trying to trap me a bit. Not in the way that you're thinking of where she like fattens me up to eat me, but she did ask me to monitor like exactly what I'm eating this week using MyFitnessPal and put like all of it in calorie wise.
Oh, so do you think she did the whole like, oh no, it's totally fine to eat a cake, so that you'd be like, oh, I can write whatever and she's not going to complain, and then you turn up and she's like, no, this is fucking abysmal, and if you ever touch a cake again, I'll beat you.
Yeah, because I could easily see her saying that.
That would be kind of cool. She'd get all my respect back then.
Yeah, so we'll see how next week's go.
I hope she never listens to this, because I'd feel really bad that she's just like, no, I'm really trained, and Ellie doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about.
Or she's like, oh no, they found out I am a witch.
It's fine. It's not like it's easy to find this podcast by just like searching my name.
Is it?
Yeah, probably is.
I don't know about that.
Probably possible.
Before we talk about the Super Bowl, I had a really exciting weekend a couple of weekends ago.
Yeah.
So we mentioned earlier, right? Did we do that on air? No, this was beforehand. Ignore that. Cut back to it. So I'm sort of having a semi-midlife crisis /
No, you're having a full-on midlife crisis.
Yeah, let's be real.
It's a terrible midlife crisis if that's what it is.
Yeah, but it's still a midlife crisis.
Yeah, it's full, but it's like boring.
Yeah.
Isn't it just... No, I think it might just be like nostalgia.
Yeah, a nostalgic midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Whatever. So and Kat started this, to be fair. So is it even my fault?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the fact that it's carried on is your fault.
All right. So for Christmas, Kat got me 2 Goosebumps box sets. So it had 5 books in each one. That's 10 Goosebump books. That's great. Kat forgot the small tiny fact that if you give me a list, I'm gonna work my way through it.
Yeah.
These 10 books weren't necessarily the first 10 on the list. There was number 1 and number 2, but then it goes a bit off the rails, right? So I spent... How long do you reckon it was, Kat? Like 2 weeks?
Probably.
Searching eBay and like Facebook Marketplace and...
It was 2 weeks in the work chat that you were...
Yeah.
It felt like longer because you were really beginning to piss me off with the making me check eBay and stuff.
So what happened, right, is I found this auction on eBay. It was collection only. It was all 62 of the original run, and 61 of them were the UK covers, which were the covers that I used to have. So it was like nostalgia overload for me. The problem was this seller wasn't hugely responsive to messages, because I sent them a first message being like, oh, are there any names inside the covers of the books? That's important. And it took him like a good couple of days to come back and be like, there's, I think 9 had names inside the covers. And then I was like, okay, so if I win this auction, it finished at midday on a Saturday. I was like, is it all right for me to come and pick it up on the Sunday? No response. So I was like, well, this is no good. So I got Kat to message him because I thought maybe that would help.
I know, this is what I don't get, is like, me messaging them as well shouldn't make any difference.
They eventually responded, right, on Saturday morning, about half an hour before the auction ended. Now, here's where the story... Here's where Liam makes the story a Liam story, basically. That morning, frustrated that they hadn't responded, I bought another Goosebumps book auction on eBay, which was missing 3 of the books and also wasn't particularly descriptive. I did send them a message saying how many of these have names in the covers, and they were like, I can't be bothered to check. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm risking it. So I bought that, and then the person came back and was like, oh yeah, we are around tomorrow. So I was like, oh no, what do I do? So I bought that as well. So I've now got like about 115 Goosebump books in the house.
Yes, you have.
But here's the beauty of it, right? Here's the beauty of it. The 9 that had names in the covers, I managed to swap out with this other book lot that arrived. So I've now got a nearly pristine, like, 62 collection of Goosebump books without any writing inside the covers. Like, one has like a damaged cover, so I might replace that one. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with my Goosebumps collection. What?
Why? Why do you need them to be pristine and not have names in the covers? Why?
Because he's Liam.
But that's not our answer, Kat. We give him too much leeway by letting him get away with this bullshit by being like, I'm Liam. That's not an answer. I know he's got his list problem, but he keeps adding things to this. He's giving himself these, like, needs. He used to be okay. He used to just have to do lists. Now he has to do pristine first editions of everything.
I feel like
it's all getting insane.
There's a deep psychological problem there, and I'm just not sure what it is, so I just live with it.
So what made you decide you needed to have these, like, original ones from the 90s instead of just, like, the new ones that Kat was buying you?
Okay, here we go then.
Here we go.
So Kat bought me the 10, just 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's 62.
Well, no, I understand that, but, like, you went... Because... I used to work, like, at a bookstore, and I know that they have been, like, reissuing the Goosebumps.
Yeah, so they have, but they've only reissued something like 28 of them. They haven't reissued the entire
And a lot of them are
collection.
in these, like, anniversary tins, like the things that I got him.
Yeah,
where they are
10 of them
literally,
in
like,
those
5
tins.
random ones that aren't... Like, they're not 1 to 5, they're just...
So the ones in the tins have the original, like, American covers, which are really cool. Mm-hmm. The reissues have these new garish covers that I don't approve of.
Okay, so that's why you wanted to get the British versions from your childhood.
Yeah. And it's that really does tap into the nostalgia of it. Because if I'd just got the new ones, I'd be like, well, I'm not nostalgic for this cover.
Yeah. But to be fair, it is all my fault, because the tins weren't the first ones that I bought you, were they?
No, you bought me some others from a charity shop or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like this random shop where in the town where my parents live that just had, like, all sorts of shit in it. And then for some reason they had, like, 2 or 3, I think it was, or was it slightly more? 3 Goosebumps books, and I bought them all for you, and I
I kept them on my shelf because number 1 wasn't there, and, you know, you've got to start at number 1, obviously.
Because my intention when I bought them was I was so stupid. I thought, he'll just read them in any order just for fun, because that's how a normal brain works. Yeah. What I didn't realise, stupidly, is that he'd be just as completionist with books as he is with films. And now he has to read every single one from the beginning.
So the best part about this story, right, is both me and Kat, the weekend that I won this auction, were very ill.
Yes.
I was in the throes of a cold. Kat was, I think, just starting to succumb to it. You were doing better than I was that day.
On that day I was, but then I went downhill again several days later.
And we had to do a 3-hour round trip to go and pick up these books.
Ooh.
Yep.
Now, was it cheaper to go and drive and spend the gas to get them than it was to pay for the shipping?
They refused to do shipping.
There are a lot of them. It would have been expensive for them to ship them.
Yeah, sometimes people do that.
It probably would have cost more than the, what, 51?
£51 I paid for the 62 Goosebumps books.
Yeah, it would have cost like almost double that just to ship it.
Yeah,
Oh
I mean,
God.
the other auction was like £70 buy it now, but we just overlook that and we focus on the £51.
And now you need to buy up the books that you are missing from that second collection to then sell those on.
So I could sell a whole collection,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
have a
but
better
no.
chance of selling a whole collection.
But you've been swapping ones that have got names in the covers.
Oh,
so if
yeah,
anything, Liam,
yeah.
if anyone's if the only people buying the full 62 books from Goosebumps are people that want as broken as you. So you're not going to be able to sell those ones because they'll be like, are there names in the covers? And you'll be like, yeah.
Yeah,
And they'll be like, I don't want
names in these covers.
Yeah. So you're now just going to be stuck with
That's a good point.
a bunch of Goosebumps books.
If he's not put them on eBay within like a certain amount of time, I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm just going to
I
take
will
them
put
to the
them on
dump.
eBay. I'm thinking just put them on eBay, just like as an auction, start at £10 and see what happens.
Bearing in mind, are you going to ship it? I mean, this is a really boring thing to talk about, like, on the podcast.
Yeah, we don't have to get into the details of my eBay auction. The main point of the story was me getting all the Goosebumps books, and that was brilliant. And then, right, just to add to nostalgia, so as a little kid, I loved Goosebumps. I got way into it. But then it took me all of about 6 months to read pretty much all of the Goosebumps books that had come out and be like, oh, I'm a bit too old for these now. So...
Sorry, 6 months?
Honestly, it was about that.
It took you 6 months to grow up and go, I don't need Goosebumps. I'm too old for Goosebumps. After
And how old
literally
were you
6
then?
months.
11. This was still in junior school. How old are you in like year 4, 5? Year 5?
I don't know.
Wait, year
No.
5? You're not 11 in year 5, you're like 9.
Oh, okay, I was
Yeah.
9.
You were too old for Goosebumps by 9.5.
No, they were all of age at my school.
Yeah, but you just said... No,
You said
but
within
you
6
just
months.
said after 6 months you had read them all and realised you were too old for Goosebumps. So
Yeah.
don't complain at us for calling you out on you saying something weird.
No, it's fine. Because then, right, so I remember my school library had some point horrors. So that's when I got into point horror, which is like the next
Okay.
step up from Goosebumps. So Goosebumps is like the average reading age, apparently, what they're recommended for, is 9 to 12 years old. I think you could probably go a bit lower than that, in all honesty. But that's what the recommendation is.
I would have said 8 for Goosebumps because they're
Yeah.
large print and the chapters are like a page long.
Yeah. And then point horror is meant for teenagers. But I reckon like probably up till like 15, 16 tops.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So
Sure.
I also bought a bunch of point horrors on eBay, and I'm alternating now. I'm reading a Goosebumps and a point horror. I've read 2 Goosebumps, 1 point horror so far. I'm loving it. It's the worst midlife crisis ever, but I'm having a good time.
So,
Can I just... sorry.
Sorry,
Go on,
at
Amanda.
9, you decided you were too old for
Yeah.
Goosebumps. But at
You
31...
had quite a high like reading age, I think, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was reading like The Hobbit and shit.
yeah.
The Hobbit's not that impressive.
Discworld.
I was reading the Silmarillion, Liam. Get out of here with your Hobbit.
It's not a contest, Ellie.
Yes, it is, and I won.
Well done.
But I just like that at 9, you were like, I'm too old for this. But at 31, you're like, I'm going to read them all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I love it.
The thing is, so I've read 2 now, and the first one was a lot of fun, and the second one I was like, oh, I'm beginning to see the cracks. I've got 60 to go.
Yeah, you're committed now. You have
Yeah,
to read
because-
all of them.
So we're doing YouTube exclusive episodes where I'm going to review all 62 of the original run, and potentially we're going to try and figure out a way to play the Give Yourself Goosebumps books,
Yeah.
which is going to be fun. And I'm also reviewing the Point Horror ones as well. The thing with Point Horror, right, I got really lucky with finding this eBay auction. I thought there'd be like loads. I thought I wouldn't have a struggle finding Point Horror, and it's just been a nightmare ever since. So
Yeah, it has. Mostly for me.
yeah,
Can
Are
I,
you
can I,
having to
Liam,
message-
just point out before we move on from this topic, I would like to point out the hypocrisy of what you're doing, which is that I don't know if everyone remembers before I was recommended Fluke and American Psycho, but I was on a little bit of a run reading fantasy books and for a while sci-fi books. I'd alternated between the two. And I stopped doing them because a certain member of this podcast complained that doing one type of book was really boring and that he didn't want to hear it anymore. So I'm just waiting till we get 10 books into Goosebumps and Point Horror before I refused to edit the special episodes and just go, no, you said it was boring after that many, so now you have to stop. No. Here's American Psycho to read.
The thing about that, right, is I'm not doing it on the main show. It's a little bonus. And also, what if they go really well and everyone loves them?
Have your own podcast just for reviewing Goosebumps.
One of my book reviews got loads of views, and it really annoys you, Liam. So are you saying that we should go back and I should do fantasy again?
I'm not stopping you now. You had your little break.
Cool.
You took a year off of reading. That gave me some respite. Now you can go and do a couple more.
A couple, fuck you. Let's move on before I get angry.
Super Bowl!
Yeah. I went down to visit Kat and Liam to watch the Super Bowl, as is tradition. It was boring.
Highlights from that weekend. We solved Kat's mystery box.
Yep,
we finally solved the mystery box. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
It wasn't... I thought it was going to be like this huge thing where you like solve one part and then that reveals another part of the mystery.
I mean, the actual solving of what we did solve was hard enough, so I was kind of
glad. It was.
For any listeners that are maybe just jumping at this point, do you want to explain what a mystery box is?
So, a mystery box was... Liam got it for Kat as a gift for her birthday.
Yeah. She was not a fan.
No, Kat does not like mystery boxes or puzzle solving, so she was immediately annoyed.
Yep.
It's basically this wooden crate that was, I don't know, sort of slightly bigger than a toaster turned up with...
It's like a shoebox size.
Shoebox, yeah, but like a solid wood nailed together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first job was just getting into the box.
Oh my...
Yeah,
no, let's take a step back for a second. Let's talk about the fact that I thought someone had sent me anthrax because I had no idea what it was, and it came with a really fucking creepy letter inside the main box that it came in handwriting that I couldn't read.
Yeah, it is creepy.
It was creepy.
Best present ever.
It was such a bad idea to get it for Kat.
I just remember going into my office thinking it was a parcel that I'd ordered for Liam as a Christmas present, and he just called, "Is everything okay?" And I was like, "No, it's not." So yeah, that was creepy.
I had to tell Kat, because you're meant to do it where you order it for someone else and you don't tell them you've done it. I had to tell Kat very quickly because she was getting in a bit of a flap, weren't you?
Well, to be fair, it wouldn't have been anyone else, but because I didn't know anything about mystery boxes or that they even existed, I genuinely thought I didn't really know what to think. Present. No.
Yeah.
I did not think what a considerate present.
No, understandably.
If Kat doesn't like puzzles, why did you get her a mystery box?
Yeah, Liam.
Okay, so the thing is, right, it's described as a horror experience. It's not really sold on the website as a particularly deep puzzle. It says there's puzzle elements, but
yeah,
it's
I think
mostly
we were all
described as a horror
surprised at
experience.
how it doesn't actually point you in any sort of direction as to what you're supposed to do with it.
Yeah.
It's just here's a bunch of stuff, figure it out yourself. Yeah. Which I think if you'd have known it was going to be that vague, then you would have known that I wouldn't have liked it.
To be honest, Kat, I think he knew you weren't going to like it anyway, because so basically, Amanda, they send that box, and then was it a week later, 2 weeks later, they send they call it the reveal, so it's a little letter that Liam's written saying oh, I sent you it, haha, what a fun old game. Except Liam put in his, sorry, I thought you would enjoy it. So he clearly knew she wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true. I'd forgotten about that.
The thing is, I'm relentlessly optimistic, so I hoped that...
No, you aren't, though, because you wouldn't have sent that letter.
Well, I enjoyed elements of it, and I liked the idea of it, sitting down and trying to solve it.
So you get this, handwritten diary that must have taken so long to produce. Yeah. And then it's all about this kid who is now missing, and the diary keeps, getting intersected with these, extracts from a witch. And it seems like the witch is possessing the kid.
Yeah.
Just to point out, Liam, you probably shouldn't be solving this on the podcast.
No, I'm not going to say how we solved it. That's as much as I'm going to say.
Yeah, but I feel like you're giving too many, considering the clues you had to go on from the box.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
I think you're giving too many clues, so I'm going to edit that out.
All right, well, you describe it then.
Just don't be a sulky little bitch.
No, that's fair. Saying that, I'm not going to repeat it because then you have to keep editing out. But yeah.
So basically, there's you get this box. There's a puzzle to solve in it, And it's like Kat said, it's not obvious at all what you're meant to do. So Liam and Kat had been trying to solve it on and off for 2 weeks.
I'll be honest,
a bit
no,
longer?
we spent like 2 nights having a look at it, and then Kat just gave up, and I was like, well, I'm not doing it with that, Kat.
No,
yeah, and then
we
I
both
came down.
Gave up actually, and I wanted to go back to it, but we didn't know where to start, which is why we were like, Ellie, come and help.
Yeah, so I came down recently where I looked at it and was like, this is too complicated.
That's when we did the Paranormal Activity Day.
Yeah, that's right. And we didn't solve it then. And then so as part of the like Super Bowl weekend, which ended up just being a day, I was like, oh yeah, or Liam was like, yeah, we can try the mystery box again. So we all sat down and we solved it.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed because I thought it was going to be way more complex, and I was looking forward to like a crazy mystery.
No, I was just relieved that it was solved.
That's fair. That's understandable, because I didn't have to stare at it every day being like, this has defeated me. So I could just leave and be like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a lot of snow as well.
Oh yeah, we haven't mentioned the snow. And how we weren't sure that Ellie would actually be able to come for Super Bowl because it was snowy.
There was no snow it snowed a little bit by me. And then I got to yours.
You forget we couldn't get our cars out.
No, I can see why. It was ridiculous.
The best thing about the snow, for me, was inspired by all the Goosebumps and Point Horror stuff. I did a little fun Twitter picture where I made it look like someone had like walked up to our back door, and then I tweeted being like, oh, woke up and checked the back garden. This is weird. And so many people were like, oh, you need to move house. It was brilliant. And I was like, spooked you all.
Did you ever put it on Twitter saying that was me?
No.
Fair enough.
It was obvious, like, because there were footsteps leading up to the door, but none going away.
No, that's not what makes it obvious. That's what made people worried.
Yeah,
people weren't worried that there were just footprints in the back garden. They were worried that the footprints didn't go away, because that's the, like... Because I said to you, there's definitely urban legends that I heard as a kid about, you know, where the whole point is they're talking about footprints in the snow, and then suddenly someone's like, but wait, there are no footprints leading away. And then you're like, oh, God.
Yeah. Cats live in an urban legend at the moment.
What?
Your dog that's a human in a dog costume.
Oh, yeah.
What?
This is getting so...
Yeah, this is very off topic.
Yeah, but Amanda wants to know now.
Liam thinks that my family's dog, Dexter, looks like a human in a dog suit because he's really long and lanky.
And he's got creepy human eyes.
And he apparently has creepy human eyes.
Some of those photos are genuinely, you look at his face and you are like, that is a man looking at me.
Yeah, if Kat is happy for me to do this, when this episode goes up, maybe, Ellie, if your sister can remind me again, I'll tweet the pictures.
And that is fine with me, as long as Ellie's sister remembers to remind you.
Okay.
Perfect. Anyway, let's get back on track, because we did a little diversion there, sorry.
It's
Super
quite a
Bowl.
big one.
So we solved the mystery box, and then we watched the Super Bowl.
No, we played Kat's anniversary game that I got her.
Oh, yeah, we played What Do You Mean for a bit, and we played Geek
What Do
Out.
You Mean? Yeah.
Yeah, we played Geek Out, that was fun.
That was
Yeah, we don't need to go for everything, though,
No.
Liam. I was just trying to sort of move along the key points.
Yeah.
Which was the Super Bowl, which we watched. Liam, first year ever that Liam has supported the same team as me and Kat.
Yeah.
And let me explain why. I was just bored of everyone being pissy at me because I was on the team that kept winning.
No, let's be honest, you were bored of the Patriots winning every year.
Well, there's that, and
We all
also...
are.
So, for anyone that listens, if you didn't watch the Super Bowl, don't blame you. You missed nothing this
was
year.
so
It was
boring.
not a good game.
Yeah, it was.
And this halftime show wasn't particularly good either.
It was shocking.
No, it
So,
was creepy.
to entertain ourselves, we started a little rumour on Twitter
Oh, God.
We did.
that Tom Brady is a piece of bacon who has infiltrated the NFL, and it's just a matter of time before people figure it out.
I think we must have been tweeting for about 2/3 of the game, maybe?
Yeah.
Just
thing is
non-stop.
I was-
Hashtagging the BBC team in, trying to get someone to say, why do people keep saying Tom Brady is bacon?
Yeah.
I was
That's
sat in
brilliant.
the same room as you both, and I had no idea how this started. Like, who started it?
Liam did the first one.
But
I
why?
still
Where
can't
did
remember
it
again.
come
He came
from?
on screen and I was like, look at that streaky piece of bacon.
That's right, yeah.
But why a bacon? That's what the world wants to
No.
know.
So the reason it happened, like, that was the start, but the reason Liam said that was I was questioning his allegiance because he hadn't thrown hate at the Patriots yet. So I was like, well, Liam, if you're not supporting them, you have to be very mean to them. So Liam just said, look at him, he's like a big piece of streaky bacon, which is not an insult.
It's not,
compliment, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's not a compliment.
No, true.
And then, there were definitely some that were insulting, where we were like, some people started getting involved in being like, oh, he's also a cheater. So I was like, yeah, he's a cheating piece of bacon. And then the next day, Kat found a tweet.
Yeah.
Someone had tweeted and been like, I learnt 2 things during the Super Bowl. I can't remember what the other thing was, but he said that Tom Brady is a piece of bacon and something else. And I was like, oh my God, he must have read all of those tweets. Because you were like hashtagging the Super Bowl like every time, and you were, like Ellie said, you were like tagging people and everything.
Yeah. So if Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl next year,
it's coming back.
I'm spending that entire game just trying to get other people on board with this idea that he's a piece of bacon.
Should we
All I want
bacon to our like choice of snacks for the Super Bowl next year?
We should, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
All I want is the people that are the like BBC team that cover the Super Bowl, Mark, Jason, OC, and that other guy
the one
who no one likes.
Mike, I think his name is.
Is he another Mark?
No, it's Mike.
But or Mike. Sorry, Mike. I just want one of them during the Super Bowl to not even read out a tweet, just to say, why are people saying Tom Brady is a piece of bacon? That's all I want. I don't care. I just want one of them to acknowledge that we were tweeting a lot about how Tom Brady is bacon.
So there's like a BBC team that covers the Super Bowl?
Yeah, they do it every year. It's the same.
They're really good though, because they seem to have a lot of fun with it. I feel like I think they started when it wasn't so big over here, and they were doing all the coverage, and like they were sort of allowed to just mess about and have a bit of fun. And now that it's gotten bigger and people like them, they just get to cover the Super Bowl
it's not
in
like
America.
normal commentary over in this country, which is
a lot of it is
dull.
also like them kind of being like, oh, so can you explain like that rule or that play? Like they're very aware that as a British audience, we're probably not like too hot on the rules and stuff.
Okay.
Although I think this year they pointed out one of them was explaining something, and then he was like, if any British people are watching the Super Bowl at this time, they probably already know that rule. And I was like, I think they're like, people are starting to learn.
So the team, it's like it's a British like just commentator guy, and then 2 ex-NFL players. So you got a defensive one and an offensive one. So they kind of give you that perspective, and then you got a British guy in the middle, like mediating and being like, "Isn't American football great?"
All right.
Well, they did say that it was a great game, and we were all just like, they weren't watching the same game.
I know, I lost interest. Like as soon as the game was over, I was like, why do they keep saying it's a great game? I'm going to bed now.
It was the worst Super Bowl we've done, and we've done about 4 now, I think.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
I think that's right.
So yeah.
I did not watch it, but I heard it was boring.
It really was.
Yeah. And Adam Levine, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy from
Maroon 5.
Maroon 5, that's it.
It was awful. So bad. Like the guy
he got his nipples out at one
but...
point, which I thought was disgraceful.
What's that?
He got his nipples out at one point.
At one point, most of the show.
I'm fully on board. I'm fully on board with that Twitter campaign of people being like, why is it alright for him to get his nipples out?
Yeah,
exactly.
everyone get your nipples out. On
I think that's super bullshit.
Because it was Janet Jackson, wasn't it? Who basically...
And she didn't even... Isn't it that she didn't even fucking do it?
Well,
like, there's something where it's like just a complete...
It was
it's
a
not
nip slip, wasn't it?
It was a wardrobe malfunction, because Justin Timberlake, I think, was meant to like pull off a part of her clothing.
It was supposed to have like a red thing underneath, like a red piece of cloth. And like... I don't know if he pulled too hard or something, but it pulled everything instead of just one part of the wardrobe.
Yeah.
But I heard something, I was watching something on YouTube earlier, I can't remember what it was, but someone was talking about how it was weird that Adam Levine turned it into this whole, like, him parading around the stage with no shirt on, when, in all fairness, the majority of the audience are probably not particularly interested in Adam Levine without his shirt on.
That's true.
The other thing, right, is he looks shirtless, right? He looks like a video game character where you can just add like pre-made tattoos to them, and the tattoos all look shit.
Yeah, no, that's very true. He does look exactly like that.
What's he got written across, like,
I
right at the
think
top
it
of his
said
stomach?
California.
Yeah,
Is it California? Like, I always find that a bit weird. Just a big word, and it's just a location.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't get Sutton or Carshalton tattooed on me.
I mean, it'd be really
Understandably.
weird if you did. I mean, California is significantly
Sutton.
nicer than Sutton and Carshalton.
Yeah, what about Surrey? I could put Surrey areas of interest or whatever it's called. We have those, like, viewpoints. Surrey areas of outstanding beauty.
Still not quite California.
I mean, what does compete with California?
Nowhere in this country, I would presume.
No.
Hawaii?
Lake District?
The Lake District.
We'll find out if we go there later this year.
Yeah, we will.
I like Amanda's suggestion of Hawaii.
Yeah. Hawaii
That's somewhere that's on my
But it's,
bucket
again,
list.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
just getting a place tattooed on you is weird.
Yeah.
It's like people that get, like, faces of other, like, celebrities or something. Because
I'm really worried that
rarely
Amanda's
look
going
like-
to turn round and go, well, actually, I've got...
Here, no. I do have tattoos, but none of them are faces or anything like that.
I don't know, the faces thing just seems a bit odd to me.
Yeah.
Like, I have words on my wrist, but it's not a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it say?
It says amicizia. It's friendship in Italian.
Oh, okay. Do you speak Italian?
No, I went to Italy in college.
Okay. Fair enough.
So that quite clearly has like a strong meaning, whereas I question Adam Levine having California across his stomach, whether that has any sort of deeper meaning than the fact he went there once.
Probably.
That would be my assumption.
Well, it's also, like, California is a huge state. It's, like, one of the biggest states here in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's not, like, his hometown. Like, I could almost see, like, if it was more micro of, like, where he grew up or something. But it's just, in general, California. My husband listens to conspiracy theory podcasts, and he was listening to one when we were going to bed the other night, and they were breaking down all of the tattoos on Adam Levine and, like, talking about how it had, like, bigger connotations, and there was something about mermaids, and I was just like, why is this anything that people are discussing? Like, I don't think there's any hidden meanings in Adam Levine's tattoos other than he just wanted some shit tattoos. Like, I don't think that he's, like, trying to send subliminal messaging to the world through his tattoos.
I do like the idea of him walking into a tattoo parlour and going, can you just give me some shit tattoos? And then going, sure.
Say no more.
California on the belly? Oh yeah, that works.
Does anyone else have any catching up with stuff?
Nope.
In that case, let's do some reviews.
It's time for people who've been to the cinema or seen things or played games or read books, and here are the spoiler-free reviews of those things that they did.
Smashed it.
Amanda, I'll let you go first again.
Okay. Well, like I said, I saw the Oscar-nominated animated shorts last night, and it's always interesting to watch those. I try to see all the Oscar-nominated shorts, and so I'm going to see the documentary in live action either today or tomorrow, but it's always interesting to kind of see, like, what themes show up every year.
Yeah.
And this year, there's definitely, of, like, the ones nominated, like, 4 out of the 5 are very, like, oriented around family, and either, like, but all, like, the loss of something with family. So it was just sort of interesting. Like, I don't want to, like, spoil anything for people who might watch it, but yeah, a lot of that theme going on. And, like, my husband and I were talking afterwards, and we were like, there wasn't really any one that was, like, really out there, because normally in the nominated, like, animated shorts, you'll get one that's just, like, totally out of left field and just, like, really kind of bonkers, and there wasn't anything like that this year.
That's a shame, because sometimes that tends to be, like, the best stuff, because it's a bit different.
Yeah, like, there's one called, I think, Animal Behavior, that's, like, more of a comedy, and, like, the premise is, like, talking animals in like a group therapy session. So that one's a little sillier, but it wasn't like, even the animation style was like a little bit more, I don't know, traditional. Like it wasn't completely kind of crazy, but.
Was one of them that one that played before, I think, Incredibles 2?
Yeah, Bow.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I liked Bow.
If you've seen that one and like the themes going on with like the family unit in that,
yeah,
like 3 of the other ones, they're all different, but I would say thematically the same idea of like family going on and some sort of loss of some sort.
Out of 5?
Out of 5, for this year's group, I would say probably like 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
There have been other years where I've been much more like impressed, and I mean they were all good, but like none of them really blew me away like I've had in the past.
Yeah, I watched a film yesterday called The ABCs of Death. I'm not going to recommend it to you. I don't think you'd like it. It was a project where they took 26 horror directors, gave them a letter each, and were like, we need you to make like a short film about death involving this letter somehow. And it was truly terrible. Just like with those sort of things, like those like anthology things, I always go into it being like, okay, so there's going to be like a couple of really good ones, a couple of really bad ones, and then most will just be average. But especially with this one, where you've got like 26, like, at least the bad ones aren't going to last too long.
Yeah.
By letter F, which was F is for fart, which
says it all, really, doesn't it?
Was from a Japanese director,
right?
And it was about a poisonous gas killing everyone, and then a Japanese schoolgirl takes her teacher into a room and is like, I don't want to die like this, I want to die smelling your gas instead. And then the teacher just farts orange gas and fills the room up. It was at that point I was like, I don't like this film, and it just kind of got worse from there.
Oh dear.
What was Z or Z?
Oh, it was another Japanese word. I can't remember what the word was, but they kind of like had little brackets that explained what it meant.
Yeah.
It was about a rich Japanese man watching these 2 Japanese girls fight. One of them had a huge detachable penis with a knife that came out of it, and the other one was just fighting.
Wow.
Okay.
And then it all ended up with being something about missiles, and all of the people in it ended up flying off as missiles.
Of course.
Huh. Well, yeah, that sounds
truly terrible.
Yeah, at least like with the animated, it wasn't like any of them were bad. Yeah, and it was interesting to always see the different animation styles, but with it being shorts, it they're over pretty quickly, and then it moves on to the next one. And they do always include a couple like highly commended ones towards the end that aren't nominated. And it was funny because my husband Jeremy was like basically quiet the whole time, and then the first highly commended one, he finally like started laughing and like getting into it, and I thought like that's not a good sign that your audience is reacting to the ones that aren't nominated.
Yeah.
Amanda, did you see anything else or do anything else you want to review?
Yeah, I read some books because I've been sick and couldn't do a lot, so I read the first 2 books in the All Souls trilogy. The first one is called A Discovery of Witches, and the second one is called Shadow of Night.
This sounds like an Ellie type of book.
I actually think I would recommend these books to Ellie. And I had read A Discovery of Witches a few years ago when it originally came out, and I wanted to read something that I didn't have to like focus too hard on because my brain was all fuzzy.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll reread this. And also, A Discovery of Witches has a television series that started.
Right. I was going to ask if that's part of the same thing, because I saw like a couple of episodes of the TV show.
Yeah. The TV show aired in the UK in the fall of last year. And then it just started streaming on some subscription services here in the US, like in January. So I actually watched that also. Because I could get like a free 7-day trial subscription to Sundance Now, because every single fucking network has their own subscription service now.
Yeah.
Which is really annoying.
Who wrote the books?
The books, I really enjoy. So the books are about a witch and a vampire.
Okay.
And
when you say vampire,
yes,
Edward Cullen vampire, or like Buffy vampire, or Dracula.
Every book series has like their own rules for whatever like supernatural beings there are. So I would say it is closer to like when I reviewed it on Goodreads, I said something like, if you don't like Twilight and you think you want something a little bit more adult, this is what you should go for instead.
Yeah. I remember there being a scene in the TV show that showed that they weren't Twilight vampires. A very like him having to hold himself back from doing something and being like, oh, okay, they're cool vampires.
Yeah. Like...
Twilight vampires are cool.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, drinks blood and all that, but...
Yeah. And isn't like, I can't go out in the sunlight because I'll sparkle too brightly.
Yeah, nothing like that. Going out in the sun does nothing. They're like...
Does it not make them turn to dust?
No.
Oh, that's
These are some weird vampires.
Yeah. But it's like, so there's the two main characters are a witch and a vampire, and it all starts, it starts off at Oxford, in a library, and the witch is like a historian, and she finds this book that people have been searching for hundreds of years, and then she's the only one that's been able to find it, and all sorts of stuff ensues. And the second book takes place largely in 1590 in Elizabethan England. So for the books, the first book, I think I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
And the second book, maybe 3.5 out of 5. I didn't like it quite as much. I'm partway through the third one, and I'm liking it more.
Had you only read the first one before, or had you read all of them before?
I had only read the first book before.
Okay.
And I still really enjoyed it. It's not perfect, and it does sometimes get into like cheesy romance at times, but like not overly so. I don't know. It's not like it's not a romance novel. Like there's a lot more going on. And I like the academic side of it, that like she's a Yale professor and he's technically like a professor at Oxford and that kind of stuff. And then so I watched the like 8 episodes of A Discovery of Witches, and I thought largely it's a pretty good adaptation of the first book. I mean,
is there anyone in it that I would know?
Matthew Good.
Yeah, I recognise that name.
Yeah, he plays Matthew, which is the vampire, the lead. And then Teresa Palmer.
That's another name I recognise.
She was in not Heartbreak Ridge.
Hacksaw?
Hacksaw Ridge. Yeah. She was in that. She was like the love interest.
Yeah.
Sorry, Heartbreak Ridge is a movie from the 80s.
It's alright, Amanda, I've got you.
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge. She was in that, and she's an Australian actress, but she's playing American in this.
Successfully?
Okay.
That's a no.
So like when I was reading the book, I pictured her character Diana more as and this person's way too big of a star, so she probably would never do it, but she was in I, Tonya.
Margot Robbie?
Yes, I picture her as Margot Robbie, and I mean Margot Robbie's also Australian, but she can do a good American accent.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of Teresa Palmer as an actress, so I feel like she kind of is a little flat in the lead role. But Matthew Good, who I think, like, Americans would probably know him best from either Downton Abbey or The Good Wife. But I think I really like him in it. I don't know. What did you think? Because you said you saw a little bit of it, Ellie.
I saw a couple of episodes. I wasn't sold on it by the first 2 episodes because it was a little bit too, like, I really liked the scene I saw with the vampire where that was the bit that I was like, oh, maybe this isn't what I thought it was, because I think the first episode was very like, oh, I don't know, it felt all a bit too like convenient and a bit sort of not Harry Pottery, but do you know what I mean? Like, suddenly she's the most important person in the world immediately, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, in the book it's definitely more slow, like it builds up.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I understand the nature of adaptation, like you can't do as much, but to me also, if you're doing a television series where you can take your time a little bit more, it does feel a little bit rushed compared.
Yeah, I'll definitely read the book and see how I feel about that, because I'm always up for reading, so.
Yeah.
Oh, Matthew Good was in Stoker and The Imitation Game and Watchmen, apparently.
Yes, those also.
Who was he in Watchmen?
He's Ozymandias.
Oh, okay.
Adrian something. Vet?
Wait, did I say Ozzy? He's the Egyptian one. The bad guy.
You're right, it was Ozymandias.
Okay,
yeah,
alright.
right.
Yeah.
I was like, I watched it with Jeremy not too long ago. I thought I got that right. Yeah.
Kat needs to watch it because it's got her Man of the Month in it, but also it's Zack Snyder, so she's in a bit of a conflicted position about that.
Yes.
Thanks, Kat.
It's also really long.
It is really long. Who's your man of the month?
It is very long.
My man of the... It's probably been more than a month, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, yeah. You probably won't like him.
The older gentleman.
What's that?
Don't you? I said you like the older gentleman.
Yeah. That's why I
Why should
date
we
you.
do, Liam?
Huh?
Don't worry about it.
So yeah, with the television version of A Discovery of Witches, I'd probably get it like 3 out of 5. Like it's fine. But I like the book a lot more.
So if Ellie was to do like one or the other, she should do the book.
Yeah.
Or books.
Yep.
Fair enough. Any other reviews?
That's all I have.
Cool. Let's go to our other guest then. Kat.
Hey. So I was poorly with the flu a couple of weeks ago. So I basically just watched a bunch of true crime documentaries on Netflix. Because that's what you do when you're sick. And between naps, you decide to watch a documentary about Ted Bundy.
Yeah? What was that called?
It's Conversations with a Killer. It's the one that, obviously the same guy who directed the documentary is doing the movie, whose name escapes me. Joe something? Billinger? Something like that?
That sounds like it could be a name.
Yeah, I thought you might know. Seeing as Zac Efron's in the movie, I thought you might just know that fun fact. But I think it's something like that. I'll just wait.
Joe Berlinger.
Close enough. Yeah, close enough.
Sure.
So I watched that. That was really good because it like time jumps quite a lot, but it does it like a lot of documentaries do. But like Making a Murder is super convoluted and it has all these like extra strands and stuff, and you get a bit lost. I don't know how many people here have watched it.
I've seen it all.
I've seen most of it.
Yeah. And Liam, you've seen as much of it as I have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that gets really confusing, but the Ted Bundy one is really, like... It's linear, but it kind of jumps, like, back and forth in time. Like, oh, well, this is what happened at this point with this case, and blah, blah, blah. But if you don't know a lot about Ted Bundy and what he did, I think it's a really good way of explaining it. And, like, kind of contextualising everything that happened in the time. Whereas if you already know about Bundy, I don't think you'd really learn anything new from it. I think it's all quite, like, well-known stuff about him and what he did and his character, which I knew like a little bit. I knew that he'd obviously like killed a lot of women, but I didn't really know about the side of him that he was like this super charismatic person, that there were actually women who couldn't believe that he'd done it, that were like standing outside the courtroom or even in the courtroom watching the case unfold and still thinking he didn't do it purely because he was good looking.
Yeah.
And that just fascinating.
Bundy's a pretty messed up one.
Yeah.
For that.
It was fascinating though. It's a really good documentary that's well worth watching. But I know like the movies had like a load of backlash off the back of the trailer because it's like painting him as being like this really like cool guy, but actually it's you know the expression like rose tinted glasses, like where you kind of see it like in a kind of like nostalgic way. You're not really seeing deeper than that. That's what the trailer is supposed to be, I think. It's like, oh, it's got all this cool like music from the time. It's paints him as like how other people saw him as opposed to how he really was.
Well, that's the thing. Like when it comes to things like trailers and marketing, right, it could be misdirection.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think it's misdirection. I think they've just not necessarily picked. Well, because if you've been working on this film, right, and you know that your film paints him, because that's what I've heard them say in response is, no, that's not what the film is. The film is he's a monster.
Yeah.
And so I could see though that if you were making that film and you've been working on it, it would be easy to have that in your head and be like, well, Ted Bundy's a monster, so we'll just make this trailer, and not think, oh, we've accidentally made a trailer that doesn't necessarily show that we're showing the monster as well as the
perspective of the film is from his partner at the time, whose name escapes me now.
Know that he did
it. She didn't want to believe it was true, and therefore that's kind of like the point of view that we're going to see, I think, the majority of the film from. I don't think all of it, but definitely the majority of it.
I think it'd be annoying if the trailer was just like, oh, here's all the like gory scenes or whatever, because
no, but
you want something saved.
But the counterpoint to that is this isn't a horror film that's been made up. This is about Ted Bundy, a serial killer who has impacted lots of people by actually murdering people.
Yeah.
So I get the whole, I don't want them to ruin the film or whatever, but when it becomes a real life thing, you do have to take into account people's feelings on that matter.
I think also
because that's what people are worried about, right? Sorry, yeah.
Well, I think also you have to consider the filmmakers are not the ones who make the trailers.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's actually like handed out to trailer companies who cut the trailers together. So, like, I've heard interviews with various directors and filmmakers who are like, yeah, I was not happy when that trailer popped up and gave away this, but I had no control over it. Like, I think there are some directors who will put in their contracts to have like control over trailers, like Christopher Nolan and stuff, because he's very like anti-spoiler. But like I remember hearing with Jurassic World, the first one, like Colin Trevorrow was like, yeah, when they put the raptors around him on the motorcycle in the trailer, I was so pissed, but there wasn't anything I could do. And he was like at that, you know, and he was a newer director then, so it's not even like he could have any clout to be like, you need to change this. And with, I mean, I know the Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie is like, I can't remember, it's got a really long title, but,
yeah, I can't remember, because it's what the judge says to him when he sentences him, but I can't remember. It's like extremely wicked and shockingly...
Extremely wicked, shockingly evil and vile.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It always makes me think of Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, that book, but I'm like, that's not what it is. It's a very different book.
But yeah, like going back to the documentary, if you like your true crime documentaries, I think you'll like this, because there's some like twists and turns in there where you're like, you genuinely can't believe, like, partly how anyone got like convicted of anything back then compared to now, where like you have so much more like technology. He would have been caught a whole lot quicker now than back then, where like literally there's this one bit where he gets called into a lineup and he's parted his hair differently and he gets away because they don't think it's him. Like that's genuinely it. He literally looks slightly different and they're like, that's not him.
Yeah.
And I just think that's pretty wild. But yeah, I think it's probably a 4 out of 5 documentary, I reckon, as far as documentaries go. It's decent, and I know a lot of people. I liked watching it when I did, because lots of other people are watching it at the same time.
Yeah.
So you could see, like, on Twitter and stuff, people reacting to it, which I quite liked that element as well.
How did it compare to something like Making a Murderer?
I much preferred it purely because it just it didn't introduce so many strands like Making a Murderer does.
Yeah.
You had, like, all the key players giving you the facts, and it had, like, enough twists and turns to keep you interested, but it didn't go like so convoluted that you just lose track of what's going on, because that's the issue I had with Making a Murderer, was that it would bounce back and forth, because most documentaries do, but I just couldn't keep on top of it. It felt like you had to take notes when you were watching Making a Murderer. Whereas with this one, it's a lot more, like I said, it's more linear. It makes more sense. And I think the most chilling part of the documentary is, like, the actual tapes of Ted Bundy talking to this journalist who's, like, because it's based on the book. So they've brought all the people together that were kind of involved in the book to then do the documentary and have the tapes as well. And yeah, it's just super, like, creepy hearing him talk.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see if the actual movie has any of that, like maybe in the credits or something, where they actually show him. But I don't know if they'll...
Or do like a disaster artist, where they do it, like, side by side.
Yeah, maybe, but that was a lot more light-hearted.
Yeah, they're probably not going to do that. Look how well Zac Efron pretends to be Ted Bundy.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
No, Liam.
No, it really won't. But if you watch the documentary, you can see, like, why Zac Efron has been cast as to play this part.
Because Zac Efron is a serial killer.
Yes, that's exactly it. Because he's crazy good looking and charismatic.
Yeah, he is.
But, like, there's also this certain sort of, like, awkwardness about him.
Oh yeah, if you see him in interviews, he's adorable.
All right, you've made a mistake, Kat.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's move on.
Yeah, okay, next. So, I watched, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this one, but it's Abducted in Plain Sight.
No.
Nope.
Okay, it's another Netflix
here we
one.
go.
What?
Strap it. No, like, because I know what's about to come, and it's just...
I'm not going to go into
so
too
bonkers.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to give anything away, because it's so wild. Like,
the thing is, I think you almost could, because it almost...
No, I don't want to spoil all the twists and turns.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you almost could, because it is so out there that people just wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. So basically, it's a documentary about a girl who was abducted when she was 11, and she was taken by a family friend. So they were, like, the two families were really, really close. The dad was best friends with this guy, the mum was best friends with his partner, blah, blah, blah. And the guy becomes, like, obsessed with this little girl, and then he abducts her, and I really don't want to say a lot more than that, because it's, like, it's just bizarre, because all the rest of the family just end up getting, like, tangled into it. And yeah, I don't, because Liam, I've told you stuff that happens in it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say what those things are, because
that's fair enough.
It's so mad when this stuff starts unravelling that you cannot believe that these parents were, like, allowed to be, like, to take care of their own children. Like, they're tangled in it in very weird ways that, just watch it, because it's another one of those, it's a little bit more, like, complex than the Ted Bundy one, because there are all these different things that start happening throughout, so it's got a lot more sort of twists and turns than the Ted Bundy one. But yeah, it's totally, like, I still see people tweeting about it now, being like, I can't believe this just happened, I can't believe that. So I try and avoid any spoilers of it, and just watch and tell me what you thought of it, because it's crazy, basically.
I'll give it a watch. I like all that
I'm gonna
true
add
crime
that
shit.
to my list.
Out of 5?
Out of 5, probably... It's hard, because, like, all the twists and turns and stuff, I could easily give like a 4.5, but it's not as well constructed as other documentaries that I've seen, so it would probably be another 4, I think.
Fair enough.
But only because it is just nuts.
Is that one a series or just a movie?
I think it's just one single movie length one, I think. Because the Ted Bundy one is episodes. Yeah, I think this one's just like a one-off because I think that's why I sat and watched it.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I like that because you did this when you had a flu cat, your brain is like, was it 1 hour or was this days?
I don't remember. I can't remember if during that, because during the Ted Bundy one, I think I basically managed to watch it in like a day, but with like flu-fueled naps in between. Because you get to a point where you're like, oh, this is a bit too heavy, I need to have a little nap. And then you'd wake up and you'd be like, right, I'm back into it again. I think there's like 6 episodes of the Ted Bundy one, something like that. And they're all about 45, 50 minutes, I think. So it's quite a lot to watch, but it's worth it. Yeah. And then my final documentary, it just feels like this is all I've watched other than the stuff that Liam's going to talk about.
Yeah, which you can chip in on.
Yeah, I will. I will. The last documentary that I watched was the Fire Festival one.
Oh, I've seen everyone talking about this, and I can't tell whether I should watch it because it'll be really interesting, or if I don't even know.
It's hilarious.
Tell me what this is, Kat.
It's hilarious. So, if you don't remember, or for the benefit of listeners that might not have heard about it, there was this big festival due to take place called the Fire Festival, and it was like they had all these like famous supermodels promoting it, and all these influencers like the Kylie Jenners and all that of the world were all promoting this like luxurious festival that was going to be in the Caribbean, and it was going to have all these great acts, and people would be staying in luxury accommodation and all this stuff, and it was all essentially just a sham. And like the main thing that people remember about Fire Festival is that someone tweeted a photo of the catering that was at the festival, and it was literally a slice of bread and a piece of plastic cheese, and the whole event had been like built up as being this like really prestigious thing. People paid thousands of dollars just to go to it, and it was literally just like a load of tents in this like on this building site, and this plastic cheese on toast and all this stuff. And the documentary like follows the people who were actually involved in organising it, and people that had been hired by this guy whose name I've forgotten, but he's basically like just a con artist who was behind it all. It was him and Ja Rule.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But Ja Rule apparently didn't really know that this guy was a con artist and kind of just went along with everything. And the documentary goes into like the people that were hired to do certain things like the event management, catering and everything. And depending on how interested you are in like major drama, depends on how much you would enjoy this documentary. But I just found it fascinating that it even like this guy who was in charge just kept like, there were so many people being like, we need to not do this, we need to cancel it, we need to cut back, we need to start like refunding people, and he just kept believing that it was going to happen the way he wanted it to, even up to the point of the day where people were literally being like shoved into these tiny buses and driven to this building site where all these like tents were, and it's like I said, it was in the Caribbean, but it absolutely pissed it down with rain, so everything was ruined, and he still wanted it to go ahead, and it was just it's fascinating, genuinely fascinating.
Is that like film or episodes?
This one was film length. Yeah, it's just one episode.
It's the sort of thing, isn't it, where it's just like, how do people almost like get away with just?
I mean, he didn't in the end, but it took a lot to get.
Like, how did so many people fall for it?
I mean, there's this really great bit that's in it. That's a clip from when there's this comedian called Ron Funches, who is very funny. Do you know him? Yeah, Ellie, have you heard of Ron Funches?
Yeah.
He's brilliant. He was on, I think, I want to say it was Kimmel or it might have been Fallon, I can't remember now. But he basically said, like, they were talking about Fire Festival, and his description was that it was basically Darwinism at its finest. Like, you had these people paying thousands of dollars to go and see, like, Blink-182, who ended up pulling out quite early, I think. And then there was, like, other acts as well. But it's hard to, like, rate it, because I don't think I would have watched it had I not had the flu. I wouldn't have had that much interest in it, but because I thought, oh, this will be somewhat entertaining, but it turns out to actually be more entertaining purely because of the amount of drama that came off of it. So I think I'd probably give that one a 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't quite as good as the others.
No, but at least you were very productive with your time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Again,
you don't have to be when you're ill.
No, but Kat chose to be, and I think it's really benefited the podcast.
I chose to watch a lot of documentaries. I did watch another one, but it wasn't really worth rating, to be honest. Not as good as those ones.
Fair
enough.
So that's me. I'm all caught up.
Lovely. Ellie, have you done much?
I've done 3 things, Liam. I think it might be a podcast first, if not maybe like a third or a second or a third. I've done 3 things. I've done the full amount.
Wow.
Well done.
I watched Bird Box, finally.
Okay.
I'm behind on that. It's pretty good.
To be honest, we've not seen
Done.
it, so it's pretty good.
No, so I did Bird Box, which is the premise being the whole idea is it's like a survival horror-y sort of film where you can't see. Like, you can see, but if you look at this certain thing, you die. So the whole premise is this woman trying to save 2 kids, and then you find out it's been like, I think that main storyline is like a year after it happened, or maybe even longer. It might be like, actually I think it's like 5 years after the event.
Okay.
And then you see flashbacks of the beginning and how she survived and how she got to that point. And then you've also got the story of what she's doing in the present.
Yeah.
But it, like, the main part of the story is like a story about family and what you do, like what's important about family, even in the apocalypse, that kind of thing. Which sounds a bit airy-fairy, but it's really good. I cried, because I cry in everything.
Yeah.
I'd probably give that like a 3.5 out of 5. Okay. Like, I'd recommend it, but there's other stuff that I'd recommend more, which is what I'm going to review next.
Because the thing that Bird Box gets compared to a lot is probably the thing you're about to do, which is A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew it got compared to A Quiet Place a lot, and both of those were on my list, but I was like, oh, Bird Box is more recent. My brother and sister had watched it, so it gives me something to talk about with them. So I watched that first, and then was like, I should probably watch A Quiet Place, which is a much better movie.
Yes. Well,
I love both, but A Quiet Place is mind-blowing. I've never seen a film use sound the way they use sound. I think I said to you, Liam, or did I say it to you? Or I might have said it to a guy at work, that I've never been as tense at such a normal sound as a scene where someone knocks over a gas lamp. Like, my whole body in that film went rigid, and I was like, oh fuck, no, what? No, stop. And I was like, what is happening? This is just noise.
Well,
it's...
You didn't see it in the theater, but like people were like afraid to eat their food in the movie.
Yeah, we deliberately didn't get any
talking about
food when we saw it at the cinema. So we were like, yeah, this is not a film to eat food to.
Imagine if you were one of the people that did buy food, and were nice about it. Because I'm one of the people that buys food and then like waits for a noisy bit. So you'd be sitting in that film like, and
any minute now.
So
my sister Addie had a really bad cough when we went to see it.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And so, like, it would be a really tense spot, and then she'd be like, ugh! Like, it was just, and she sounded like a goose, and then she would just be like, I'm so sorry. Like, and everybody would, like, jump because it was so quiet, and then she'd cough.
Yeah. I love the opening to that film, because it's just so brutal, and immediately it's just like, oh, they're not fucking around.
No.
It tells you all the rules that you need to know about that universe.
Yeah.
Also shows you how mean the film's going to be. Mm-hmm. The film is full of so many, like, I think this is, because I've seen people talking about this film who said it's scary, and I didn't get that.
It's not scary, so it's tense.
Yeah.
I think people get confused.
Which I used to not be able to deal with as a kid, but I think I can now deal with tense films. So that's
Well
good.
done.
I've grown. But there are so many scenes in this that are like just that awful kind of tense where you're like, something bad might happen here and I really don't want it to, because this family just seem very lovely. Like, they're all so nice in it. And like, there's stuff going on between them where you're like, in any other film, this could just be, oh, the dad's a dickhead. But it isn't.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the dad's trying to deal with something and, like, someone else is misunderstanding that, and that's why there's tension there, but it's not, no one being deliberate.
Yeah.
There's a scene in this film where I just openly wept like a child, which I think is, I think it's pretty obvious what that scene would be. But, Jesus Christ, I just burst into tears. Anyway, yeah, back to the podcast. I just get so fucking emotional at any sort of family shit, any sort of love shit. As soon as that happens in a film, my brain's just like, cry now. Now's the time to cry.
I have to say how good the girl is in the film.
Yeah.
She's
brilliant.
amazing, yeah.
Millicent
All the
Simmons.
actors in it are
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
Like, the boy that plays the son is good. Like,
Noah Jew.
I wasn't... Cool.
And the girl is Millicent Simmons.
Yeah, they were good.
Good. They're both amazing.
And I think she's actually deaf in real
Yeah,
life
she
as
is.
well.
She is.
The only bit I didn't super love the ending and the resolution to the film.
No.
I thought it was a bit...
Yeah, that's the only
I think
bit
they
that
could have
would
done it
complain about.
a different way to make it slightly better. But then also I don't think that's the important part of the story. I think, again, this is a story about family. And like, I saw an interview with John Krasinski, who directed and starred in the film. That's right. Ellie also knows an actor.
Well done.
Yay!
Thank you.
Hey.
Where he was like, the whole point of this is he made it just after him and his wife, who is also in the film,
Emily Blunt.
had their kid. And
Their
he was
second.
like, the whole film is about what would you do for your kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much fucking
He
sense.
co-wrote it also.
He also designed the monster, which is a weird
I didn't
thing.
know that.
And Amanda,
I was like, oh, okay.
Amanda can help me out here, but I think Emily Blunt won an award recently for her performance.
She
in
did.
the film.
She just won the SAG award for Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, nice.
And that clip of her winning is just so adorable because
is.
he's like in tears over it,
Aww.
and yeah, it's.
I watched it.
If you like this film, watch that clip.
Yeah, it's a great clip. I watched it live, but I had a fever, so everything was a little hazy. But I was just like, they're so sweet, and I love them both.
Yeah.
My favourite thing that I've seen since watching it was, I think it was on like Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fat, can't remember which one it was, one of the Jimmys, and John Krasinski was saying, because they were asking him like, oh, what was it like working with your, like, directing your wife? Is that like a problem? And he was like, no, it's a mate. Like, I now understand why she's such an amazing actress, and like she just blew my mind. But he was telling this story about how in one of the scenes, which is the bathtub scene,
Yeah.
yeah,
Great scene.
They said that all happened in one shot. She did it on the first take, did this whole amazing scene, and then the crew were apparently just like, holy shit, this is incredible. And then the moment he said cut, she just turned around and went, oh, so what's for lunch? And everyone else was just like, what? What? That was it. So I was like, that's such a good story of her being like, blowing everyone's mind with how good she is at acting, and then just being like, what have we got? What are we going to eat now?
I'm hungry.
Yeah, exactly,
All
yeah.
this acting
I was like,
has
that's
made
such a
me
good story.
hungry.
But yeah, I'd give that like a 4.5 out of 5. Literally just the 0.5 off because
Of the end.
the ending
yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But
They're doing a sequel.
I'm glad. How will that work though?
Emily Blunt.
I hope they call it a
knows
loud
everything.
place. If you go quiet, the monsters hunt you down. But if you're constantly talking, they're like, ah. Oh, and then I had one more thing. I forgot. I got so distracted with how much I loved A Quiet Place. I also played a game called Celeste, which I played on the Switch, but it's on like
Didn't
every
that,
console.
correct me if I'm wrong, did that make it into your top list a couple of episodes ago? Or am I getting confused?
I don't think so.
Alright.
No, I said it would have made it onto my top list
Okay.
if I'd played it before the new year.
Right.
It's so good. It's just a platformer game, sort of like, if anyone's heard of or played something like Super Meat Boy, that they're like, you've got a screen that you're trying to solve by jumping and using your abilities, and they're really tough, and you know, it teaches you at the beginning, but then the levels get hard very quickly. But there's no punishments for dying. You just go back to the start of that screen, so it's very forgiving in that way. There's a death counter, but the whole game, like throughout the game, characters are talking to you and saying, yeah, you could be collecting like these bonus strawberries, which are, if you try and get the strawberry, it's always a harder route and makes the game more difficult. But the game itself is like, there is no reward for getting all the strawberries. It's just a way for you to brag, so don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, that's a really sweet, like, it's not being like, you can get them, who knows? It's just like, no, nothing happens.
You might not know the answer to this, but is there a trophy attached to it?
I'd assume so. I'm playing it on the Switch, which doesn't have trophies.
Oh, okay.
But I've completed the main game. Then once you've done that, you can do a certain amount of stuff to unlock a final level, which I've unlocked and I'm playing at the moment. There's also something called the B-sides, which are an alternate version of each level that is way harder, but has a... So one of the best things about this game is the soundtrack. The songs are amazing for this game, and the B-sides are remixes of those songs played over the top. I've also heard that there are C-sides, which I think are even harder. Like, there's so much to unlock in this game. It's so fun, and the story itself is a really sweet story about anxiety and mental health.
Okay.
Like,
that's cool.
It's sort of, the whole game is meant to be a metaphor for that kind of stuff, and it is, and it has just a really sweet message the whole time. Like, you're playing as... I can't remember what her name is. It's not Celeste. The mountain is Celeste. Oh, you're Madeline, and you're trying to... Her goal is she just wants to climb this mountain.
Yeah.
And, like, she meets people on the way who either believe in her or don't believe in her, and she doesn't really believe in herself. But then the mountain sort of teaches her by making that a very physical issue, the fact that she doesn't believe in herself. And the whole thing is like, learning to not necessarily get rid of that shit, but work with it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a really sweet story, and I love it, and it's adorable. Worth playing. I would recommend everyone play it if you like video games.
I did look to buy it, but it's like, I think, 25 quid at the moment.
I would say it's worth it. And I think you'd get your money out of it, because there's so much to complete. I love Celeste. Get Celeste. It's a 5 out of 5.
It's, how much would you say it's worth paying for on the PlayStation Store?
You said 25, and I would spend 30 quid on this.
Okay.
How much gameplay is it? Like, how much time are you getting?
If you're going to go and do all the B-sides and C-sides and all the extra content, it's hours and hours. Like, I think the main story is 8 hours, maybe, if you're doing well, I think I've heard. But that's, like, just for the main story, not doing all the other stuff.
Well, I've got plenty of games to be playing, so I'm just going to keep an eye on it and hope it comes into a sale.
That's fair. Yeah, that's all my stuff. Let's not worry about what Liam did. I'm kidding, Liam.
That's mean.
What things have you done?
Okay, so I've done something that I think Amanda either has done or will be very interested in. So I'm going to do that one first. So me and Kat have watched the first season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, I haven't watched it yet, but...
I am shocked.
It's on my list for when I'm having surgery next month to catch up on that.
Yeah.
I feel like you will enjoy it at least as much as we do.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying about Amanda is because it was created by Amy Sherman Palladino. Who, Ellie, what else did she create?
I'm guessing the Gilmore Girls.
Correct. So I said to Kat about halfway through the season, I was like, even though it's created by that person, it's impressive to me how different to it is while still being good.
I think when I found out that it was created by the same person, I assumed that it would have that same trope as Gilmore Girls where everybody talks at 100 miles an hour and it's all very witty and it's not like everyday conversation. Whereas that's not really the case in Mrs. Maisel, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the key things that helps there is the fact that they have set it in the 1950s. So that already gives you like a big disconnect from something like Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's not aware, the basic premise is, I'm going to just kind of tell you like episode 1 and then no more. Because you can't really talk about the premise without slightly spoiling episode 1.
No.
So the basic premise is Mrs. Maisel is a housewife. Her husband wants to be a stand-up comedian. He's not very good at it. Something happens in episode 1 and she decides to give stand-up a go, and she is very good at it.
Yeah, she's basically responsible for everything in her husband's life. Like, she does everything for him. She's really typical 50s housewife. Basically. Yeah, no.
He tricked you into saying yes.
No, I know he did. I don't know how that happened. But no, she is like the typical 50s housewife who is actually holding everything together, because that's what us women do. We actually control we control the world.
Like,
but
to the extreme as well, where she would like go to bed with makeup on, wait for him to fall asleep, get out of bed, take the makeup off,
then
go
get
to
up
bed.
early to then
Yeah.
Like,
we're talking like that level of committed to her husband's happiness.
Yeah.
Wow, Liam.
He's so
Liam, go back to
proud of
being
himself.
really shy.
Yeah, shut up.
So you have Rachel Brosnahan, who plays Miriam, the main character, Maisel. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, really good. And like the writing is so good as well, because not only have they got to write like a compelling story, but then they also have to write actually good bits of stand-up. And it's so well written. I love the way that they've kind of done the 1950s, and like the soundtrack is all that era of music as well.
Yeah, at the beginning of every episode recently, there's been like a song that's kind of like a similar sort of sound. It's like a female singer, and it is very of its time. And every single
songs in each
they're different songs, but they're like a similar ilk. And every time Liam's like, "Oh, I love the soundtrack," and I'm like, "Yes, I know. You said that at the beginning of the last episode."
It's so good. It's so good. I don't really know much of like what the people who are in it have also done, but you've got Michael Zegan, who plays the husband. Then you've got Marion Hinkle, who plays her mum, who was in 2.5 Men.
I knew I recognised her.
Yeah.
She does other comedy stuff. I've seen her in things.
Let's have a look.
I don't know if a lot of it's crossed over to us, though. I've not seen her in anything else from memory.
No. And then you've also got who plays the dad, Tony Shalhoub. I might have pronounced that. Yeah, there we go. We know that I can't do pronunciations, so thank you, Amanda.
Yep.
He is also very good.
I love him.
And then, like, real steals the show. Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry, I just impressed myself with a little fun fact here. So, Kat, you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Alex Borstein, who plays Susie, who is like the best supporting
She's my
character in the
favourite.
show. Did you know that she voices Lois Griffin in Family Guy?
No, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is really good.
She was also originally cast as Suki in Gilmore Girls. But
Really?
Yeah, but had a
Oh,
conflict,
wow.
so couldn't do it.
Oh.
Was she in... Because I've just seen on the credits that she was in A Year in the Life. Was she in any, like, other
Yeah,
Gilmore Girls
she's she played Drella the harpist in season 1.
Oh,
yeah,
did she?
yeah.
And she also plays Madame Celine, the person who like dresses them, who the fashion lady who like helps Emily choose her dress for
Yeah.
the vow renewal.
Would never have guessed that in a million
No.
years.
Yep, that's Alex Borstein. Both
Wow.
of those
So
roles.
good.
Yeah, she
So
is
good.
really good.
I can't wait for you to watch this, Amanda. I think you'll love it. For me, it was 4 out of 5. Kat, for you?
I said 3.5. Sorry, out of 5.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know if it's going to kind of get a bit better as it goes along or not. But for me, it just wasn't quite at a 4.
It's an Amazon Prime original, which I think is maybe the first Amazon Prime original that we've watched at least.
Yeah, have we seen any others?
I don't think so.
No.
But good. Ellie, I'd recommend it to you.
Maybe. I won't promise anything because I've made plenty of empty promises.
Yeah, you
That's
have.
fair.
Yeah, you have. Next, again, both me and Kat did this. Me and Kat did all of these, to be honest, so
Yeah.
I don't need to keep saying that. Next, This Is Us, season 1 and 2. So good.
I'm still like... The thing is that This Is Us is a weird one because it's so good, but
It's
also
so good.
part of you doesn't want to watch the next episode because it just like tears out your heart and stamps on it every episode.
It is a cruel show. It gives you no like nice moments. Like
no, that's not true.
No,
it gives you a nice moment and then a really shit one.
Yeah, the way it works is it gets you loving the characters, and then it just puts them through the ringer relentlessly.
Yeah.
And like there are a couple of nice moments here and there, sure, but overall, it's like you don't want to enjoy any of the nice moments because you're like, oh, wait for it, it's all going to go to shit any second now.
It's because it runs. I don't think this is really giving too much away, but it runs on two separate like storylines about the same family. So when they were younger and current day.
Yeah,
I think that's fair to say.
It's a hard one to discuss because there is like something happens in the first episode that I was not expecting, and it was just such a delightful little surprise to not have that spoiled. So I don't want to spoil it for anyone else. It was great.
That makes sense.
And then like there's other episodes that have little like surprises like that in them for the first like few in season 1. There's a couple of instances like that. The show's good. I can't say too much about the show. It's just really good, and I would recommend it to everyone. For me, it's a 5 out of 5 show, although I will say that season 1 is slightly better than season 2, but it's still 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Are there more seasons, or are those the only 2 that are out?
There's a third one that I don't know if it's currently being aired or
it's airing in the US right now. My mother-in-law watches it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we won't have it for a while.
Those episodes. Yeah. But this is another one that was available on Amazon Prime. The first season, I had to buy the second season. Worth it.
Fair enough.
In the 100%. US, I think it's on Hulu.
That makes sense. So that was that. And then last, me and Kat watched The Fix season 1, which is like a Netflix comedy panel show hosted by Jimmy Carr with Catherine Ryan as one of the what's the name?
What are you on about?
What?
The co-host.
Catherine Ryan's role in the Fix. She's not like a co-host, is she?
She's a team captain.
Yeah, that's it, team captain. And then what's the other guy's name?
I can't remember his surname. It's DJ something.
Or is it DL?
DL, that's it. Yeah, DL.
He's been in trouble on Twitter recently.
Oh, Liam, come on.
Can
review
you
the show?
Liam, just do your review.
DL Hewley.
That's it. No, review the show.
I will do, but Terry Crews called him out on Twitter because you know how Terry Crews was part of the whole Me Too movement?
Yeah.
D.L. Hewley was saying basically like, oh, I don't understand why Terry Crews didn't just get like physically violent with whoever assaulted him.
It's Hughley.
Hewley. What have I been saying?
Hughley. It's a hard G.
It's a hard G.
Yeah. He's famous over here in the US. He had like a sitcom and stuff for a while.
I'm just going to call him DL.
Okay.
That's fair.
But yeah, there was just that Twitter beef going on. Anyway, the premise of the show is each episode they have like a problem in the world to fix, like gun crime, population control is one of them, I think.
Yeah.
Global warming.
We got it, Liam. Just list two, and then you carry on with the review.
Listed 3. And they have like different people on the panels. It's good. It's a good show.
Yeah, it's a panel show. Fuck me, Liam. Honestly, how are you struggling so much with this? I've seen an advert about the show, and I could do a better job describing it than you. And I don't even know what the fucking premise of the show is, other than they try and fix a problem.
It was how I got introduced to Ron Funches, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, he's good. There was one bit, I can't remember what her name is. Can you? The data expert.
Mona something.
Something, yeah. That was the only bit that, for me, didn't quite work.
It doesn't gel well with the rest of the show, does it? They just bring her out to reel off some facts. It's gotten better, because she gets more involved in the comedy, but at first it was fucking weird. It
was really stilted. Yeah. Jimmy Carr's great as the host, though. It's alright, really. 3 out of 5.
It's an easy watch.
Fair enough.
What would you give it, Kat?
Probably the same, to be honest.
There we go. That's everything that I've done. No films, just Netflix and Amazon Prime.
Very good.
Housekeeping. Let's keep a house, please.
Let's keep it. Oh, get it clean.
Ellie, last time we talked about Lumberjanes. Have you read more?
Yeah. I'm now fully up to date with Lumberjanes, waiting for volume 11 to come out.
Is it good?
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's fucking amazing. I love it.
I read more. I haven't quite gone as OTT as Ellie has. I read the next 3 volumes.
I only wanted you to get to a very specific volume where a very specific thing happens because it explains why I love Joe so much.
Yeah, still indifferent to that character. There's other characters that I prefer.
That's fine.
But yeah, so Volume 2 essentially wraps up the plot that is established in Volume 1. And I found out afterwards, after we recorded, that it was meant to just be a limited series and it was going to end at Volume 2, but because it's done so well, they can carry on, essentially.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, Volume 3 I wasn't that impressed with, in all honesty. But then Volume 4, it starts picking back up and getting good again.
I just loved all the volumes.
Yeah, okay.
I did. I wasn't saying that. Otherwise I wouldn't have. I powered through like 5 of the volumes in one night, and then I think I did the rest over 2 days.
Yeah, but you didn't mind the artist changing, whereas it bothered me.
No, because I'm not like you. I already don't mind. Whatever. We don't need to have the discussion, but yeah, I think it's weird that you don't like a certain artist, and that can ruin a story for you.
Well,
I'm the same though. There's certain comics I won't read because I don't like the artwork.
Yeah, but you're both weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the thing is the artist in Volume 3 for me made the characters look almost too like, I don't know if cartoony is the right word.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no, you're right. In this cartoon comic, they were too cartoony. I agree.
There was definitely something where
twat.
they changed,
Wow.
like just the way the characters looked because of this artist's style that didn't quite work for me.
Fair enough. Well, I'd recommend everyone go read it. I discovered that there's like spin-off graphic novels that I'm going to have to buy, but I had to stop myself because I spent too much money all at once buying 10 graphic novels.
What are the spin-offs?
There's like these other graphic novels that are Lumberjanes, but I think they're like side stories, even though this is its own side story. I saw them after already having bought 10 graphic novels and was like, I can't do this right now.
Is it still the same?
Yeah, it's still the main Lumberjanes.
That's cool. We had an email. This is
Who
exciting. So it's from Frankie. The title of this email, and I love the title, is "Don't worry, Ellie. It's not all about Zac Efron."
Okay.
Alright, so Frankie said, hello. So I have a little Efron update for you both, since Liam would like to hear it, and Ellie is happy for listener correspondence.
Yep, true.
I watched Baywatch the other night and loved it. Ellie, you definitely should check it out soon. Objectively, not a great film, but Efron and Johnson and their banter, so great. I don't want to be too spoilery, but will just say one of my favourite things was all the names Johnson called Efron and the High School Musical reference. I would love to see them team up again, but looking if there's news of a sequel, all I can see are things from 2017 saying there would be one with the main cast returning, but nothing recent, and everyone seems to hate this film. I don't know why. I'm with you there, Frankie. I don't know why either. Luckily, though, we've got Amanda on the show, so she can tell us why.
Hey, I didn't hate it. I talked about this movie with you on my podcast.
Yeah, but we had different levels of enjoyment to it.
That's true. I mean, I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think it definitely has some issues, but it's fun.
Yeah, like, would you watch a sequel if they made one?
Probably. I'd have you on to talk about it and fawn over Zephron.
Well, that's what I'm here for, isn't it, really?
Well, because I think I told you I had somebody respond. They were like, I didn't realize that Liam was straight until halfway through that episode when he mentioned his girlfriend.
That's look, several people have said similar things.
Yeah, Jason and Lee said that. Was it Jason? No, the two
Zac
Joes.
guys.
Yeah, the two Joes.
Yeah,
Joe and Joey.
Yeah.
yeah. It's fine.
Well, Liam, you might be bisexual.
Yeah, maybe.
He might be Zac-sexual. Can't say
true.
I can't speak properly.
Ooh,
Zac-sexual.
Zac-sexual. I like that.
Efron-sexual.
That's how I'm going to identify from now on. I'm Zac-sexual.
Okay.
Also, Liam, you really want a body like Efron in this film? I mean, I can't really talk because guys with big muscles are not my thing at all, but Efron just seems to have gone way too far with that in this. But I guess it's good gym motivation for you.
He has gone too far in Baywatch, so I'm not about that life.
I don't
Gross.
think it could go too far.
Too muscly.
So, one thing I found a bit strange was going to Baywatch right after the High School Musical films, so I then decided to go back to a young Efron with 17 again, which has an opening scene that looks like it's from a High School Musical film, so that was fun. The rest of the movie, well, it was alright. I've also downloaded a couple of your old episodes to listen to where you've talked about High School Musical, and the one with the Zack Attack guys. I'm in the process of listening to their episode on the High School Musical films too. Not sure what's next, but there will be something, as this has somehow turned into another movie project in my list. So currently, and then she's given us her ranking of the Zac Efron films she's seen so far. which I'm just going to reel off real quickly. You got High School Musical as number 1, great choice. High School Musical 3 as number 2, Baywatch as number 3, High School Musical 2 as number 4, and 17 again as number 5. I love that Frankie is now watching the film from Zac Efron because of how much I love Zac Efron.
You should get a commission.
In all honesty, I think it's this podcast doing good in the world.
You are officially an influencer.
Yeah.
Oh, God, don't tell him that, Kat.
Oh, I didn't mean it.
What were you going to say, Ellie? I'm sure it's going to be mean and spiteful.
No, I was going to say you should start another podcast where you talk about Zac Efron.
Yeah, because then you won't talk about him all the time on this one.
Don't tell him the real reason, Kat.
Sorry, I said too much.
Right, so... Frankie
I just think it would be good for Liam.
Yeah, me too.
It would be a good, wholesome experience for Liam to... Amanda can do it with you.
Lucky Amanda.
I need to sacrifice someone, Liam.
Like, thanks, Ellie.
Sorry,
I'm
Amanda.
so sorry for Amanda right now. So, Frankie said, Efron update done. And now, you're going to like this bit, Ellie. Said, I want to give a big thank you to Ellie for the Titans review in the last episode. I had pretty much dismissed Titans without even looking into it when it appeared on Netflix, and didn't even know it was centred around Grayson/Robin. My DC knowledge is pretty much just the old 60s Batman TV show, 90s Batman films, Batman Begins, and Wonder Woman. I'm working on catching up on the rest of the films, one of my projects, along with the Marvel films, as I've only seen 3 of them, but it's a slow process. Anyway, the review got me curious, so I've just watched the first episode and I am hooked. The first time Robin shows up was a great scene.
Yep.
It's nice to see him on his own, taking people out and being pretty ruthless. Also, he's kind of good looking. The girls seem cool too, and I'm curious where this is going to go, and we'll be watching at least another episode today, probably 2. After a couple of recent disappointments from Netflix films/shows this weekend, I'm so happy to have found this, which is so great. And that's it. I obviously don't expect you to read all of this out on the podcast. I've talked way too much, but hope you have both enjoyed reading this and might like an update on both things in the future. Frankie. Frankie, we are so starved for correspondence that we will read all of it out, and please do update us in the future.
Yeah, please do.
So that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now you don't have to bitch and moan about not getting any correspondence, because you got a really good one.
We've got some tweets as well. I'm not done.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. It's a miracle you got that.
What? I mean, so here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. We've got Kat as a guest on this podcast, right? Kat,
Yeah,
what was the last episode of Nerd on Nerd that you listened to?
probably the last one I was on, which was, as we established, like probably a year ago.
No,
Yeah.
that was 3 years ago. It was like our 5th ever
No.
episode.
Kat's been on another one since then.
Yeah,
The special.
Oh, did you listen to the special you were on?
yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a year ago. I'll let you off.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I meant.
When was the last time you listened to one of the not special episodes?
I don't know. This isn't about me. Carry on with your housekeeping.
No. Do your housekeeping, Liam.
Frankie tweeted us as well saying, "Oh wow, that High School Musical book review is one of my favourite things you've done, partly for the review itself and partly for Ellie's reaction. Sitting at my desk trying not to laugh too much because of people working around me. Glad I watched the films to have context."
Does watching... I know that if you watch the films, you know the characters, but do you need context for the High School Musical books?
I wouldn't have thought so.
Amanda's just put her head in her hands.
Listening to you guys review that, and you mentioned Martha, and I knew who that character was, and I was like, curses, I hate that I know this.
See, context is important.
Oh god, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I just hate that I have that knowledge in my brain, and I wish it was gone.
Yeah, that's taking space that another important bit of knowledge was originally had.
Yep.
The best thing is, every time Ellie makes me review one of these books, that's only going to reinforce that knowledge that you have.
I know.
I don't make you review the books. I just bought them for you.
Yeah. What did you think was going to happen? Frankie also said, also, just to clear something up, when I said I was happy for Liam to talk about all Efron films, I didn't mean to literally discuss each one. Just meant that if he really wanted to recommend one that wasn't on my list, I'd be happy to hear about it. And then she said that she was going to watch Baywatch first because she loved the show when she was a kid and she's curious to see about the film. She'll report back. We've read that out already. Ellie put a poll on Twitter about monkeys and penguins.
Penguins!
Yep.
Amanda,
One massively.
do you prefer monkeys or penguins?
Penguins.
Gutted.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Liam was so Liam pretended like he wasn't hurt by this and has switched.
No,
I've had
he-
multiple conversations.
Not in this house, he didn't. He made it very clear to me that he was upset.
But the best thing is, even to me, it was very clear he was upset, because half our conversations have been Liam being very upset by the fact that Penguins won, but then the other half are him pretending he isn't that upset. Yeah. So I'll get one where he's like, oh, to be honest, I don't even mind, it's all fine. And then I'll get another message where he's like, how the fuck do Penguins win? This is bullshit.
I'm just saying, right, in a world where Trump is president and Brexit's happening, I'm not surprised Penguins won.
Oh, you're so edgy, Liam.
Thank you. Someone responded saying, as a biscuit, penguin.
Yeah, that's a good joke.
Obviously, pengs. And then some, like, fucking penguin Twitter account retweeted it or something, which, you know, probably skewed the results. And then monkey Twitter account. The thing is, like, here's a genuine point I made to...
Oh my god, you're so upset by this, and it's hilarious. Why has this bothered you so much?
Alright, so I said this to Ellie and Kat, I was like, can you name a single penguin? Because I can name, and then Bubbles the monkey. He was a real monkey named Bubbles. Any penguins? No?
Yeah, no, because you're just going to do the same bullshit you did, because you asked me that and I immediately said Pingu, and then you said, no, you can't use fictional penguins, and then when I said name some more monkeys, you named a bunch of fictional monkeys.
I can name you a real penguin. Pepe the penguin, who was a famous penguin, and there's a statue of him here at the Columbus Zoo, which is like the #1 zoo in the country.
Yeah, Liam got told.
I've never heard of that penguin.
There's like a whole thing about
all heard
him.
of Bubbles.
And at the grocery store in the 90s, they had a place where kids could be babysat, and it was called Pepe's Playhouse.
That is amazing.
Sponsored by the zoo.
I love it.
Yeah.
Liam
Go home,
is unimpressed.
Don't like it. Amanda tweeted us. She's on the show, so this isn't going to be awkward for her to hear me read out her tweets.
Oh, this is weird.
Amanda said, thanks for the editing, love, Liam, even though now I'm crazy behind. Ellie, I hope you can check out Criterion Crack at some point, maybe on a more accessible movie. Also, what is the name of Tom's podcast? Oh, I've told you that already, so I don't need to read that bit out.
Yeah, but you might want to tell your other listeners what Tom's podcast is called.
Yeah, Liam.
Yeah, go listen to Can I Talk for 20 Minutes podcast, which is our friend Tom Hogan's new podcast. He's also our co-host on another podcast, which is coming out at some point soon.
What's the premise?
It's in the title.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Tom picks a topic and then sees if he can talk for 20 minutes about it. It's fucking genius. He's hilarious. It's ridiculous that he's come up with such a good idea straight away, and I sort of hate him for it.
Yeah. Also, to Amanda's point about Ellie checking out like an accessible movie on Criterion Crack, because Ellie keeps being like, "Oh, Liam's putting me off of listening."
Yeah, because you are. No. Literally every time we talk about it, you go to me, "I don't think you'll like it," and I'm like, "What?"
But okay, let me explain what I mean by that. It's because I don't think you'll like the films that we're talking about.
That's fair.
So that's what I mean. It's not like I don't think you'll like the podcast. I just don't think you'll like the films we're currently discussing. Although
you guys,
have you seen Seven Samurai?
I haven't, but I think that is one of the films that's on my list of films that I should have seen.
Yeah.
And I probably maybe I'll watch that, and then is that episode out or coming out?
Coming out.
It's the next one after the extras for graduation.
They should both be up later this week.
Okay, cool. I'll get Seven Samurai watched, and then I will listen to that episode.
Yeah. Apart from that, I don't think like in the foreseeable future we've got many others that Ellie would like. At least in the next like.
What about The Lady Vanishes?
It's good, but I think it's going to be hard getting Ellie to watch that.
Okay, because it's Hitchcock.
Yeah. Have you seen any Hitchcock, Ellie?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to list them.
I feel like you're still putting her and other people off of listening to the podcast.
Yeah, promote your podcast, Liam.
No, our podcast is really good, but I just feel like, how do I say this without being really mean to Ellie? Because I was going to say like it's for like a sophisticated listener, but that's...
You can fuck right off. There is plenty of evidence on this podcast that I am more sophisticated than you. We get a slightly complicated graphic novel, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is really interesting. And you're like, it's too difficult. They're trying to be too smart. So you can fuck off with your judgment. We're both idiots.
Do you know what? I've got Amanda on at the moment, so I'm going to let Amanda sell the podcast.
Well, I think it's definitely, if you're a film buff or if you like doing lists, it's a good one to watch along with and listen. And also for Liam's Zac Efron fans, it's a good one, especially for the extras episodes to listen to.
Yeah.
What, do you bring Zac Efron up a lot, Liam?
Each film, we try and figure out how we could make it better if I put Zac Efron in it and if Amanda put Saoirse Ronan in it.
Okay.
The goal is to eventually get those two in the Criterion collection, because currently neither of them have any films in the collection, which is ridiculous.
I can understand with Zac Efron because he's
fuck off.
Well, he's mostly done more mainstreamy stuff, hasn't he? Whereas Saoirse Ronan has done some more like indie stuff.
Saoirse Ronan is definitely getting in the collection.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, she's the more likely
She's been in
one.
Wes Anderson films.
Yeah.
She's getting in the collection.
Yeah.
She'll get in eventually, but she's not there yet. So for now,
No.
I'm choosing what roles she could be in.
And I'm hoping that, like, the Beach Bum might be Efron's.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Spring Breakers isn't in the collection, is it?
No.
Mm.
Amanda also said, Liam, I wonder if part of your disconnect with The Favourite is because you prefer...
Yorgos Lanthimos'.
Thank you. Voice. This was the first of his films in 15 plus years that he hasn't written. I agree about The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I loved it and its weirdness. Granted, I love The Favourite too. I think you're right. Like, The Favourite does feel like there's little elements of him in it, like when the music ramps up, but there's not really a lot going on screen.
It's very visually, I think the difference with The Favourite to like Killing of the Sacred Deer or The Lobster is it's visually his story, but written, it's the other two, it's the two writers. It's Tony McNamara and Deborah Davis. Whereas in the other ones, Yorgos Lanthimos either wrote or co-wrote all of the others. So, like, it's very much his voice, not just visually, but textually also.
Yeah. I think you're probably right with that being where I maybe struggled isn't the wrong word, but just didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped I would. And Amanda also said that the best part of the Poetry in Motion review was Ellie's reaction to it all. She kept cracking up when Ellie would go, no one cheered, someone in the back gave a cough. So true.
Yeah.
I could not stop laughing. I was like getting gas and listening and like laughing, and people were like looking at me.
I just remember Ellie just moaning about how long the review was.
That's fair.
It is very long, but it was funny. Otherwise, I'd have cut it out, Liam, which I didn't do.
I don't know because I haven't listened to it.
You'll hear it in a year.
Yeah, I'll get there. Frankie gave us a Zac Efron movie project update where she watched We Are Your Friends so she could listen to our Zac Attack episode.
Yep.
She wasn't a big fan of it.
Fair enough.
That's it for housekeeping.
No, it isn't.
What?
Liam, last time I asked you, you were on 1,115 films. So you only have 115 to watch this year. We're in the second month.
Yeah.
I think you had said if you could watch...
About
how many was it?
10 a month.
Yeah, so surely you're on track. You'll be on 100... I'll just type in 1,105.
No.
Is it better than that?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah?
Yeah, 1,100.
Look at you.
Wow.
I thought you hadn't watched a lot of films this month.
I haven't, but I've also not brought any films. So it has slowly whittled down.
Well, you've watched 15 films this month, which is a fair amount.
No, you haven't.
Well, since we last recorded, which was ages ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you
I mean, I
off.
watched
It is
2 yesterday, Kat.
Yeah, that's true.
That helped.
Yeah.
I'm impressed, Liam. You're doing a good job.
Well done.
Well, it's because I'm buying all these books instead.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I've replaced.
I
one
might have to
problem
start
with
another list.
Nah. Well, I am also reading these books. Like, I'm getting through them at a good old pace of like a book a week at the moment.
Okay. I'm impressed. I'm not gonna bully you, Liam, because you've done a good job.
Thank you. I should get a treat.
No.
No. Culture swap.
Sorry, listeners could not see. William looks so excited, like, I'm gonna get a treat. And then as soon as Ellie and Kat said no, his face was like crestfallen.
This is just my life.
Yeah.
They build me up just to tear me down. Culture swap.
Swap my culture.
Let's do culture swap.
Don't repeat it.
It's too late. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I keep wanting to put a "the" in front of it. There is not one.
Yeah, I thought there was a "the" when I tweeted about it earlier.
I keep wanting to call it Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which is the old
Which is...
like 90s
Yeah,
sitcom
it's very
version.
different.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
So, this is, I think, based on the graphic novel that came out recently-ish, maybe?
Yeah. Well, isn't there an old school Sabrina?
I thought Sabrina had been going on for a while.
They revamped it, and they did like a new...
Got you right, so this is... Right, I see what you're saying. This is part of that revamp sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's kind of like the Riverdale revamp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's all darker and grittier, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is supposed to take place in the same, like, world as the wrong universe.
Yeah. Well, isn't...
Okay,
Riverdale is the next town along from Greendale.
Yeah, and it gets mentioned at least once in the series.
Yeah.
So, this graphic novel, I think, came out 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, the graphic novel that this is based on.
Yeah.
So this was recommended to us by Amanda and Kat, the two guests.
Yeah, so we'll let them explain what it's about and why they recommended it.
Which one of us would you like to start?
Both at the same time.
In unison.
I'll let Amanda start.
Well, I'm pretty sure Liam said, hey, you two are going to be guesting together, so you need to find something for us to talk about.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, I think, was it me who suggested Sabrina?
Yeah, you were the one who suggested it.
I think probably because I wanted to watch it but hadn't got around to it yet and needed a reason to watch it.
And I had already watched it once through, and so I was happy to talk about it because I hadn't really talked to anybody about it yet.
Yeah.
What's it about?
Oh, right. I'm bad at this. I shouldn't be. I do podcasting. So
That's why I volunteered you to explain.
Sorry, I forgot about. I was so focused on the why we chose it. So yeah, it is about a teenage witch, and can I get into spoilers now?
Oh,
yeah. Listeners, this is going to have spoilers for Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, go watch it.
Shut up, Kat. Everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, cat fight.
Oh boy, I'm sure Kat's never heard that before.
Ha ha.
But yeah, go watch it, listeners. Then come back and listen to our culture swap on it.
So yeah, it's about Sabrina Spellman, who is a teenage witch. She's half witch, half human, and it starts out with like on the brink of her 16th birthday, where she's going to have to sign her name into the Book of Night and officially join the coven and get rid of all of her links to humanity, and she's not so sure she wants to do that.
Which is fair.
So yeah, I think the first half of the season is about her trying to like make it work, maybe slightly more than half. But then later on in the season, she kind of has to take more of a step into being a witch as opposed to her mortal life.
Yeah.
It opens, I think, like in the first episode, it quite quickly is like, look, we're not fucking around, and it shows you the demon lady, like the teacher gets stabbed in the neck.
Yeah.
Yep. How do you feel about the horror elements of it, Amanda? Because I know you're not a big fan.
That was something when I first started watching it that I was a little like unsure about, and there are parts where I just look away.
Yeah, there's some pretty like grim moments in the episodes.
There are definitely parts where I just look away, or even when I like watched it through a second time to talk about it with you guys, I was like, there are bits I can't, or like when because I hadn't seen the Christmas special before.
Okay,
yeah.
And so when I finished that the other night, I was like, it was dark out, and I was like in bed, and Jeremy was already asleep, and I was like, I shouldn't have watched this at night.
Yeah.
So that was a bad decision on my part. So I put on To All the Boys I've Loved Before to just like get happy good feelings to cleanse. I was like, I need something that's fluffy and fun and full of love. But yeah, I thought the show would maybe scare me more than it did, but I was able to handle it, like, because it's very macabre, but I think largely, like, the horror stuff, it's just, like, little bits and pieces. There's not, it's not, like, constant.
Yeah, there's never, like, a whole episode where the horror is the main thing. Like, it's a
it's usually
story.
like a moment, isn't it? Like, there's one scene that's, like, particularly gory or scary, but then the rest of it kind of counterbalances
like even the Christmas special, which is heavily, like, there are poltergeists in the house, is, like, the poltergeist scene is one scene, and then the rest of it is, like, Roz and Susie trying to figure out this thing. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, and some of the stuff, like, there were certain episodes that reminded me a lot of, like, Buffy.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No, I get that. There's definitely, like, a similar sort of vibe where between the level of, like, dark and light, it does, like, Buffy was quite good at kind of balancing that. There were definitely, I can't remember the most famous episode that's just, like, proper grim. Is it called
Hush?
Yeah. Is it Hush? Yeah. But but yeah, no, I get that. I see where you're coming from with that.
Like, not every episode, but some of them definitely, particularly the one with, like, the sleep demon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought that one was going to be a lot darker than it was. It was more kind of like, I guess I'd describe it as more like camp horror as opposed to scary horror, which is kind of how I've described, like, the Evil Dead in the past. Like, the original is kind of just camp horror. It's not really scary. What are you giggling at, Liam?
The thought of Amanda watching The Evil Dead being this is fine, it's camp horror. Kat said it's not too scary.
No, Jeremy tried to show that to me once when we first started dating. It didn't go well.
No, I can see that.
But to you, I mean, I know Liam will know what I mean when I say that. Like, it's not, like, gory or scary, a lot of it. It's kind of just...
Yeah.
It's almost, like, fun scary.
Yeah, I know.
I thought the more horrific stuff was actually, like, the cannibalism side.
Yeah. Oh, that I was not expecting.
That's a fucking wild turn it takes
it really
very
is.
early on. And the fact that, like, Zelda is so fine with it.
Well,
like, I get it. I get why she is, but, like, it's such a change from how because, again, my only experiences with Sabrina are this and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, where her aunts were definitely not cannibals.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's one thing that this is so drastically different from any other form of Sabrina that we've seen visually before.
Yeah, totally.
Because
I
mean, go ahead. Sorry, Kat.
That's what I was just going to say. I didn't really know what to expect when we started watching it, because I just knew that lots of people were watching it and were like, oh, it's really good, it's really good, but no one was really going into how different it was. So that was a bit of a, like, shock when we first started watching it. I was like, oh shit, this is not what I thought it was going to be at all. I thought it was going to be all that sort of, like, camp horror stuff where it was just a bit of fun, but then it did get pretty dark.
I think for me, like, the spooky bit that maybe worked best is when you had, I think it was towards the end of the season, the witches coming back.
The 13
witches.
Yeah.
That I thought was really well done.
Yeah, it was, definitely.
There were still, even when I watched that episode in particular the second time through, that, like, some things made me jump, and I was like, I should have looked away! I knew it! I should have looked away!
Yeah. The other thing is, so for Christmas, I've got, like, a surround sound system, and this show with surround sound is
it's really good.
Yeah.
Oh God, with the laughing children, that would be
that was good. But spooky.
Oh no, I just watched it on my tablet with headphones, so I'm glad I didn't. That would have freaked me out so bad.
Yeah, that was awesome.
See,
what did we think of my least favourite part of this, which was how Harvey keeps calling her Rena?
Brina.
It's Brina.
Brina.
So you don't even know what he's saying, so your point is now entirely invalid and we can move on.
I hate it.
It did
Why?
It did really annoy me.
Why?
It just sounded dumb.
The other nickname she could have is Sab.
No, just call her Sabrina.
Yeah.
No, he calls her Brina, and it's adorable,
no.
and I love them, and I ship them.
Oh, no.
What about Brie?
Huh?
Call her Brie.
No, I would have hated that
just-
too.
No.
Oh,
that's-
Yeah,
Well,
you
that's
would
Sab.
you would have hated that, Liam, because
Yeah,
you didn't
I'm-
like Brina.
I think
No, I'm
So you
happy
wouldn't
with
have liked
Sab.
Brie
Brie.
would be too cutesy.
Brie's also like a name. You get Brie.
Yeah,
names.
I know. That's why it works.
Yeah, I
But
did.
Brina's like a nickname.
No, we
Brina's
didn't like
awful.
it. We weren't a
No.
fan.
I love Harvey, so
No,
you two can
Harvey's
shut
a
up.
wet blanket.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No,
He is.
no, he is not a wet
He
blanket.
is.
He shoots his dead brother by himself,
Yeah, but he's
and
really
then
whiny
and then
about
deals
it,
with it
isn't
better
he?
than anyone in this show deals with anything.
That's
Everyone's like,
true.
she's like, Harvey, how are you? And he's like, yeah, no, like pretty shit, but I'll come to school.
So I was so impressed by Ross Lynch as Harvey, partly because he plays Jeffrey Dahmer in My Friend Dahmer.
Oh,
And that
does
was-
Oh, does he?
I
Yes.
didn't know that. Oh.
Oh.
And that was the last thing I saw him in. And then I watched this and I was like, holy shit, that guy has range. Like, those are
Yeah.
so different.
I don't know. I didn't really rate him, but I think it's because I'm more interested in like the Church of Night side. I'm more interested in Sabrina falling into the darker side. Her mortal life doesn't interest me that much.
No, I like,
like
Ross
Ross.
and Susie.
Yeah, Susie's alright.
It's just Harvey. I'm like, if they turned around and were like, Sabrina, you have to kill Harvey, and she's like, oh damn, okay. I'm like, cool.
She would
I
never
want
do that
Harvey.
because she loves him.
See,
No.
I feel like I'm in the middle with Harvey. I like Harvey. I like him a lot better than the Harvey in the sitcom.
Oh yeah, he really
Yeah.
was a proper wet blanket.
Yes. Like, I am annoyed with Harvey in the Christmas episode.
What?
The bit with the whole like not accepting any of her help at all just because it's magic or for a different reason.
I didn't
No,
like that he
exactly
gave the
that.
gift back.
Rude.
Yeah. He should have kept
I-
his magic pencils.
Yeah, his whole, like, I need you to not do any magic around me at all.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, really, dude? And I wanted Sabrina to be like, well, hey, you know how you were saved from the mining collapse? That's because I put a protection spell on you. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you'd be dead. Like,
Yep.
But to be fair, the counter argument to that is like any time Sabrina says anything where she's like, yeah, but this bit of magic saved you, he just has to go, yes, and then you did magic and I ended up having to shoot my brother in the head, Sabrina.
yes.
Actually, sorry, he would say, I had to shoot my brother in the head, Brina.
Oh,
And I would have cringed. I would have cringed
yeah.
every time.
He's also to be fair to him, it's not like at that point she has broken up with him, so like they're not dating. So like her getting him a gift is sweet and nice, but he's like, we're not dating. I'm still trying to get over you. In that episode, she's like, you said that when you look at me, all you can see is your dead brother. Is that still true? And he's like, it's getting better, but yeah, that's true. So it's not like he's like, oh no, I really like Sabrina. I don't want her to do magic. He's still dealing with the fact that she really fucked him up.
I get it, but at the same time, it's like, I guess because you're always going to sympathise more with Sabrina because you see the intent behind what she's doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she is trying to do. That's the thing. She is always trying to do the right thing. It's just a lot of the time she might not think some of those things through.
Yeah.
well, she has a serious problem of being 16 and thinking she's smarter than every single adult.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
But when the adults are like, we're now going to eat someone.
Well, okay. That's
She's like, no.
she shouldn't listen to Mrs. Wardwell and to Faustus. Like, she shouldn't listen to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes Zelda is a bit much. But when Hilda is telling her not to do stuff, she should listen to Hilda.
Yeah, Hilda is smart.
She is, and she's never done anything to hurt Sabrina, like, in the way, like, Zelda sometimes says, like, word daggers, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Hilda is, like, she's so pure. I love
Yeah, I was
Hilda
genuinely
so much.
about to say that she is so pure. That's just the best way to describe her.
Yeah. Ellie, I've got a little fun thing for you. So did you know Zelda is played by Miranda Otto?
No.
Do you know?
I don't know actresses or actors.
So do you know what else Miranda Otto is in? Because it is a film
just
that
told
you're
you
a
I
big
don't.
fan of.
What?
Lord of the Rings.
Who does she play?
Eowyn?
Is that really?
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Mind
I knew that would
blown.
blow your little mind.
Yeah. I can sort of see it. Now that you've said that and I'm picturing the two together, I can
Yeah.
sort of see it.
To be fair, I was watching an episode of Frasier that she was in, and Liam walked in and was like, "Do you know who that is?" And I was like, "No." And we'd literally watched Sabrina like the night before, and she doesn't look any different. She literally looks exactly the same, and I could not connect the two. She just looked a bit older now than she did in Frasier, obviously.
I think I didn't really like her at the start of the show.
No, she's really
warmed
grown
to her
on me.
more towards the end.
Yeah.
I think because you're getting the whole show from Sabrina's, like, even though it's not all from her perspective, she is our main character, and I think that the way Zelda changes throughout the show reflects how Sabrina spends a lot of the show thinking about her, because I think she loves them all, but at the beginning, Zelda is very much she's into the witchcraft, and that's the bit I don't like. And then the bit that made me completely change on Zelda was the scene where Sabrina just yells at her and's like, "Stop trying to be my mum, you're not my mum." And Zelda just immediately, you see how much that hurts her. And then even Hilda's like, you shouldn't, why would you say that? And I was like, oh shit, Zelda does just love Sabrina. Like, yes, she's strict and wants it to be the old witchcraft ways, but she's never going to do anything to hurt Sabrina because she does think of her as a sort of daughter.
Yeah.
And she says something along those lines, like an episode or two beforehand, the Feast of Feasts ones, where, you know, Sabrina's like, well, what would have happened if I was the Queen of Feasts? And like right at the end, Zelda's like, I wouldn't have let that happen. Like, and so I think like you get little glimpses of it, but like you said, Ellie, it's that moment where she's so hurt that it's
it's the first time you really see her actually vulnerable, I think, where she actually like that wall comes down a bit, that you've got so used to her seeing like seeing her as being this really like almost like heartless character, but then that vulnerability comes out, and that sort of is quite a big shift in the rest of the show.
Well, and I think it's interesting that Zelda's greatest nightmare is that her sister is gone. Because as she puts up all of these, like, walls, but there is that vulnerability deep down that she just doesn't want anybody to see.
The whole, like, killing her sister, though.
Well, that was just funny.
It's because she knows she can bring her back.
Yeah.
It's not actually...
I
Like,
don't know, the
in
first
her
time
world,
it happened, I was like...
oh, yeah, it's fucking... When it happens, you're like, sorry, what, did they just kill off Hilda?
Right?
Yeah, that was insane. I genuinely was like, what the fuck is this show doing?
I feel like if that was an option, Ellie would do that to me.
No, I wouldn't. Because I imagine you would still feel the pain of dying, which I think is pretty horrifying.
I like that Kat was like, yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah,
No
it's Kat you need to worry about, Liam.
I would.
Yeah.
But a character we need to speak about, which we haven't, and Liam knows
Ambrose.
it yet. Ambrose. It's
Yeah,
so
Ambrose
good.
is like the best character in the
He's
show.
my favourite too. I love him.
I love him.
I love him.
I don't
He's
really have a
amazing.
lot more to say than that, other than I love him and I think he's a great character. And
Yeah, he's... I just love... I love the whole, like, his relationship with Sabrina.
Yeah.
With the whole, like, he's sensible and knows that she's fucking shit up, but he also doesn't really have a go at her a lot of the time, and he'll be like, yeah, you fucked up, but... Like, especially with the Christmas special, with the whole seance, where he's like, no, that's stupid, don't do it.
Yeah.
And then she does it, and everyone's annoyed at her, and Ambrose is annoyed at her, and then he sits down just across from her and goes, so, cuz, what did you hear about, what did your mum say to you? And you're like, he's annoyed, but he's also like, no, but I see why you did it, and it's important, and I'm interested.
And when she says that she wasn't able to ask any questions, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Cause
He's just so lovely.
I love him. He's nice to look at too, which helps.
Yes.
he's very pretty.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree.
Yep.
I'm curious where they're going to take his character in the future, because it felt like
They're
trying to
slowly
pull him
like
into-
getting him out of the house now, because obviously he was confined to the house, which worked for so long. But I can see why they were like, yeah, we need to do a bit more with him by having him involved at the academy now.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, it'll be interesting to see whether that then expands and his like world gets a bit bigger. Or
There's definitely, in the last episode, like not the Christmas special, there's definitely the sort of, they established at least some of the, this is what could happen in season 2, with the whole like, the rest of the warlocks in the college like pledging allegiance to Faustus's son, and Ambrose just standing there like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
So like clearly there's like, I found it weird though, because this is, I don't even know if this is meant to be weird or if it was just me noticing it, but in that episode, Ambrose's boyfriend, who I can't remember his name.
I want to say it's Luke or something. It's something
Yes.
normal,
Is
isn't
it Luke?
Yeah.
I think it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke.
He's in that room and he does the whole pledge to the kid. And then in the Christmas special, he is in the room with the family at the end.
And he knows about the daughter.
Yes, Ambrose makes a joke about how they've kidnapped the daughter. And Luke's just fine, like sitting there smiling all happy. And I was like, I thought the whole rest of the season was establishing this, like, Luke is kind of loyal to Faustus.
Yeah.
And there's going to be an issue where Ambrose is like, Luke, you're, like, too far gone in this.
I did read that they filmed the Christmas episode after they filmed the first episode of like the second half of this season, which is airing in April.
April? Yeah, April.
And it was because the creator Roberto Aguirre Sacasa didn't have the idea for the Christmas episode until like they were halfway through filming.
Oh, okay.
That one or something. So I do kind of wonder, like, if this Christmas one is gonna, like, I don't know, like, if it'll end up being a little, like, kind of on its own, or if it's fully gonna be in the, like, arc of the whole season. It's just, I wasn't sure, because I do think, like, there's some plot holes a little bit with, like you said, Luke's character in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's one point where, like, Hilda puts something in his coffee when, like, he's at the bookstore.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if it was, like, her casting a love spell on him or something.
That was what I read.
Yeah, that's what I read from it. That's what I thought was going on.
But it felt to me like there was a scene missing of, like, him and Ambrose getting back together.
Yeah.
Because it's just like when Ambrose shows up at the school, suddenly they're together. And then Luke is like telling him he loves him in the last episode. So it just felt like maybe there was a scene cut at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially.
And then Ambrose is supposed to be allowed at the school to teach, but then he was like out in the woods with Luke, and he was at the school to help like protect the mortals. So it was just like, well, is he only allowed at the house and school, or is he allowed throughout all of Greendale now? Like that seems
they don't really.
Yeah,
it does seem weird, and they don't explain that. Yeah,
that just seemed like a small, like a couple little plot holes, and it largely seemed to do with Luke because it was like in the woods with Luke, and then like Luke like stole him into the Church of Night, like kind of thing.
Also, how were people in that episode not annoyed with all the people that were kidnapping them out of that fucking circle? Because if some dude that I was massively in love with was like teleporting me out of a circle and being like, no, but I had to save you, I'd be like, yeah, I get that. But me and my family are currently trying to save all the mortals, and you've just made that really fucking difficult.
Yeah.
Like, Zelda I get, because she is annoyed, but then it's like, well, she's gone into labour, and Zelda's like, well, I did say I'd help, so I will.
Yeah.
But Ambrose is just like, why did you kidnap me, Luke? I love you, Ambrose. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no worries.
I was like, no!
Fuck the mortals.
I don't entirely trust Luke, and that's kind of what I got out of that scene.
No, 100%.
The whole, did we, remind me, because I did have a big gap in between the first half of the season and finishing it, because I knew we were doing this episode, so I stopped. But there's that whole plot point at the beginning where that guy is murdered, and and that's how Ambrose meets Luke. And I was getting the whole implication being that Luke was the murderer, and Ambrose had just fallen in love with him and didn't realise. That's what I was taking from that.
There
was loads of suspicious shit. Yeah. And then does anything get resolved with that? I can't remember if they resolved it later.
No.
So I still think Luke's the murderer.
Well, and I think part of it is technically what we've watched is the first half of season 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is part 1.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's going to come back in the second half.
It could do, yeah, because I guess it's not actually... if it's not a whole new season, that would
I thought
make
it
sense.
was a second season.
It's called part 1 and part 2.
Oh, okay. Because on IMDb it's listed as a second season.
Oh, sorry. Let me just I'll fuck Netflix calling it part 1 and part 2. IMDb has spoken, Liam.
Right, but the next bit could be called like part 3.
No.
Yeah, it might be.
Because I've already read they have renewed it for a second season, and they're splitting that into 2 parts also.
Okay.
Cool.
It's just the way that it's structured. It's in 2 parts.
Yeah.
I will admit, Liam, it is weird.
Yeah.
How many episodes was part 1? It was like 10.
10?
So I
10
wonder
plus
whether
the
part
Christmas
2 will
special.
be like 8 or something. It would be slightly shorter to make.
No, it's 10 according to IMDb,
okay.
but fuck IMDb apparently.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, I don't think IMDb knows how to handle when things are split up into 2 parts.
Exactly.
Because HBO has done that before, where they'll split a
Yeah.
season into 2 parts.
Well, Walking Dead does it a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that's just usually a Christmas break, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's not officially labelled as like part 1 and part 2. That's just
Yeah.
like a lot of shows have a mid-season break, but this is like a full-on. I don't know, because that's like 3 months.
It's
I
just
don't know.
different, basically.
It is different.
What did we think of Kiernan Shipka's portrayal of Sabrina?
I like her a lot. I think she's good.
It took me a long time.
I know
to
you kept
stop
saying she looked like
seeing-
Emma Watson and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
I was like, no,
What?
she doesn't. Just,
No,
Yeah.
she doesn't.
just,
I couldn't stop
just go
seeing
with
it.
it.
See, I was so used to her from Mad Men.
Yeah. See,
I've never watched
you've
Mad
not
Men.
seen it, so we
Oh,
can't really
okay.
draw the comparison.
Because she played the daughter in Mad Men, like all of the seasons. She was Sally Draper, and I really liked her in this. I thought it's very different from what she did in Mad Men, and I mean she's so young. She's only 19. I think she's super talented.
Yeah.
She is, yeah. She's really
I
good.
think at first, whilst you're getting used to her, she does feel very much like a comic book character. She's she's wittier than anyone you know. She's more together than anyone you know. And then as it sort of starts to unravel, it feels more like realistic. Her character feels more like developed than you first feel in the earlier episodes, I think.
So, why do they want her name in the book so badly?
Because then you've made a deal with the Dark Lord,
Yeah.
and he can call on you at any time.
Yeah.
And she's clearly, they've said that she's the most powerful witch of her generation, because she's the only the 4th witch ever to be able to summon hellfire.
Okay.
So
But did
she's
they
like
know
the
she
most
was that
powerful.
powerful before
Yeah,
they wanted the name?
that's why they want her to. That's why the Dark Lord wants her
Yeah.
to sign. Yeah.
I think the Dark Lord and Madam Satan definitely know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we think that like the next part is going to be her trying to reverse her name being in the book, or do you think she'll just go with it?
I don't know, because I was expecting when she talked to her mom, for her mom to reveal something more than just like, I was worried people wouldn't love you. Like,
Yeah.
because when she encounters her mom in Limbo, she's like, they took my baby right away. And I'm like, I feel like there's something more there. There's more of a story.
There definitely is.
And
There's definitely something to do with Zelda and Hilda as well, because in that whole seance bit, when Zelda's like, yeah, we'll try again. If you'd asked, we'll just try another time. And then Hilda looks at her with a look of like, what are you saying? Because I think that Zelda and Hilda were some part of the kidnapping of Sabrina or whatever, and they don't want to admit how tied to it they are, especially Hilda.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think there will be more revealed, but I thought it was weird that the seance, there wasn't a whole lot of revelation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there would be more, and that's why I wonder if this is more of like a slightly out of time episode with the Christmas
Yeah,
one.
definitely could be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Going forward, I think that you're gonna get more of Dark Sabrina, especially when she's like with the Weird Sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like them at first, and then they've grown on me a little bit, but I'm still not like their biggest fan.
Prudence has really grown on me. I really like her now.
Her hair's got better.
Yes, her hair has got better, but I also feel like her character now has more flesh and bone to it, so it's less like of a caricature. Because I felt like the Weird Sisters were like these, they just I didn't really care about them at first. I was like,
no, they were just the mean schoolgirls, but witches.
Whereas now Prudence knows what she knows. I feel like she's going to be a more interesting character. I don't know about the other two. I'm a bit ambivalent to them, but...
Okay, one thing I do not understand is Agatha, the brunette, weird sister, is listed as a main character in the credits.
Yeah.
But, like, the one friend isn't.
Which friend isn't?
Not Roz, the other...
Susie?
Yeah.
She's not listed as a main character?
She's not in the open credits, is she?
What the fuck?
She's not in the opening credits, and Susie gets so much more screen time than Agatha or Dorcas. And I'm like, Agatha has just as much screen time as Dorcas does. Yeah. And why is Agatha...
I wonder whether they're, like, bigger names, like, that people would potentially recognise.
Adeline Rudolph has literally only been in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Yeah.
She's the one that plays Agatha.
Yeah. She doesn't even have a Wikipedia page of her own. Like, it makes no sense that she's listed as a main character in the opening credits, and the girl who plays Susie isn't.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Or the one that plays Dorcas.
Yeah.
Can I point out that Dorcas is a stupid name?
Yes, you can, because it is.
It has Dork at the beginning.
Yeah, here's the thing,
You can't be the cool chick if your name is Dorcas.
If this is set in the Riverdale universe, which it is, you just have to get on with the stupid names.
That's true.
It's because they're all from the 1950s originally.
Yeah.
Like, when these comics were originally written.
What time... So, I know that you keep saying, Liam, that this is the same universe, which it is, because Riverdale's in it, or mentioned. Yeah. But, what time are these set in? Because me and Liam, early on, I was like, this is set in the 1950s or 60s. And Liam was like, no, I think it's modern day. Yeah. But, there are numerous episodes. All the cars they drive are old. Yeah. The episode where they rescue the people from the mine, all the nurses are wearing 1950s nurse uniforms.
Yeah, there is an inconsistency.
And no one uses... It's weird.
There is a scene where Harvey has a smartphone.
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah. I
just don't understand.
I think that I think it's set in modern day, but Greendale is just like one of those towns that's trapped in its like olden times. Because if you think about the bookshop and things like that, that's all very like more old fashioned than today. So I think it's just like, I think it's just stuck in its time.
Yeah, and I think that's partially so they could like stylistically do some of the costuming and stuff like that. Because
exactly.
The graphic novel or in like the comics that it's based on, because there's more than one now. Like it's an ongoing series, but it is based in the 50s and 60s in the comics.
But I don't know why they've chosen to set in modern times, because apart from like a pretty throwaway scene where you just see Harvey with a smartphone, there isn't a lot else that is like, this needs to be a modern day.
There's no really any reference to the internet, which I feel if it was deliberately set in modern times, the internet would play quite a big role in it, because people would be researching about witches or I just feel like it would play a bigger part in it if they were very deliberately trying to set it in the modern day. Like in Riverdale, there's really modern references.
Yeah.
Like literally the episode we watched the other day references Ozark. So they make it very obvious that it's set in these times, whereas Sabrina is like super ambiguous.
Well, originally, Liam was saying, at least, so I hope this is true and not just Liam making shit up, which he does do sometimes. They were originally going to do crossovers in this, where like characters from Riverdale. So I guess you make it modern times so that when you cross Riverdale over it, which if you're I haven't seen Riverdale, but if like that has a lot of modern references, that means they're like, oh shit, this has to be modern day. But also, like Amanda said, they don't want to lose the stylistic
I don't think
choices.
I don't think I said that they were going to. I know that the creator has said that he's open to the idea of
I really hope they do.
I want them to, because I'd be
I like the fact that Sabrina's its own thing.
That's because you haven't seen Riverdale. If you'd seen
Riverdale...
No,
I know, but the worry is that, like, so I think that the reason they were considering it or whatever was because they were like, well, that will give Sabrina a boost because Riverdale's doing well. Then if we can
I don't think it's about
cast this as a spin-off.
I don't know, Liam, I know you've seen both, so I don't know how you feel about it, but...
Oh, I think there's there's definitely characters in Riverdale that would work well in Sabrina.
Amanda, have you seen Riverdale?
I've watched the first season. You guys talked about it on Won't Grow Up, and I really liked it. So this was originally supposed to be a companion series on the CW with Riverdale. So it was supposed to be closer and like have crossovers and stuff like that, the way like other CW series do, like the Arrow and Flash and Supergirl. And so it was originally supposed to work that way, but then it ended up going over to Netflix. So they're still in the same universe, but I think because they have like different companies where they're being shown, it's harder to do that crossover now.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. I just like the idea of certain characters from Riverdale crossing over into Sabrina. Yeah. Like the main one for me would be Cheryl.
Yeah.
From Riverdale. I think she would work really well in that. And because this won't give a lot away about Riverdale, but this season of it has been, there's definitely ways in which it could work, because there's been like a slight, like I say a slight, a very strong cult/occult vibe to Riverdale that would definitely make sense in Sabrina's world as well. I just want to see it. Like, I don't care if it's not a good crossover. I just want to see it happen.
I think it could work. It would just, you'd have to get the CW. I mean, because it's like the same like production team. Like Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa started both of them. Like he's the showrunner or whatever. And so I think it would just depend on getting like Netflix and the CW to work together.
There's definitely been opportunities on both shows where it could have happened, especially with Riverdale on that side of things. But the fact that it hasn't happened so far makes me wonder whether they are deliberately going to keep them separate or not.
We need Harvey Kinkle, Brother Slayer, to come onto Riverdale and murder someone's brother.
I'm trying to think if anyone has a brother on Riverdale.
No, they don't, Liam, because Harvey Kinkle's already been there.
Yeah, he's murdered them all.
No, not technically, without giving any more.
You can't see,
Riverdale.
but I'm putting a face like, yeah, see, I'm right.
So Harvey's secretly a serial killer, and that's where his darkness
I think I'd like him
from.
more if that was more.
That's why when Sabrina was like, "Don't worry, Harvey, I'll deal with this," he was like, No,
this one's mine.
I'll deal with this. This is what I do." Also, do we think anything's going to happen with the whole like everyone's family history, right, has had something to do with it, except for Harvey's, which is just your family were witch hunters. So far, none of them have shown any sign that they remember that, except maybe
his grandpa,
possibly because they killed the familiar. Which you could maybe read as like the grandpa knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I think he did.
But even then, like everyone else's, like Susie and Roz's are both like, you've got this weird family history, and that is like a major thing about you now. Like Susie can stop fucking ghost witches because she's like, no, my aunt was a badass. You get out of my house.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see that expanded next. In the next half of the season.
Because they mentioned his granddad again with his dad drinking. And Sabrina was like, "Oh, why don't you get your granddad?" And he was like, "No, he doesn't want to. Or Dad doesn't want him to." It'd be kind of cool if his granddad was just like, "Guess what, Harvey? You're a witch hunter. Let's go kill some witches."
Well, and
would that be cool?
That's where I kind of worry because of his I don't even want witchcraft around me at all. And that's where I'm like annoyed with Harvey, because I'm sort of like, well, you know that this is in the world now, so maybe stop being in denial.
Unless Harvey knows something about his family that he's not really like letting on to. He might not have necessarily known that they were witch hunters, but he might have known that there is a darker side that he didn't realise was connected until he found out about them being witch hunters. I don't know.
I don't feel like he's complicated enough to have that.
No, that's true.
Shades.
Yeah, he's pretty.
He's
pretty
not that
simple.
bright.
Yeah.
You shut your mouth,
Liam. He's simple. It's why I said he was like a wet blanket. There's not a lot to him at the moment.
I like Harvey, but he is simple.
Yeah. Come on, Ellie, just admit it.
I wish I could see Ellie's face right now.
Same.
I'm laughing, so it would just be me looking happy.
See,
I'm just loving that you guys I'm forcing you guys to all defend the fact that Harvey's simple, while I just stubbornly go, "No, he's not. Leave him alone."
I mean, he's a good artist.
He is. He's a great
got that
artist.
going for him.
And all artists are complex. Leave him
Except
alone.
for Harvey.
I have a question about Sabrina's other friends then. Like, what did you guys think about Susie and Roz?
I was just about to ask that, so I'm pleased you brought it up, Amanda. Okay, let's do Roz first.
I love Roz. I think she's great.
Yeah, I like her. I like where they're going with her.
I like where they're going now that it seems like she's some sort of medium or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first half of the season, she just annoyed me.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think partially it just seemed, I don't know, there was something, particularly watching it through the second time, where the whole thing with, like, the books and the, I don't know, it seemed like they were just trying to come up with some reason to keep her in the episode. Like,
Yeah.
And, I mean, the whole idea of, like, going blind is awful, as I know you know.
Yeah, when we were watching it, we were like, fucking hell, we just can't escape this, can we? It's everywhere.
I was like, relatable content.
I did, even the first time I watched it, before I knew we were going to do this, I was like, oh no, I wonder if that's how Liam feels with, like, movies. Like, has to...
No, but Liam can't see cool visions, so his is worse.
Can't see what?
I said you can't see cool visions, so yours is worse.
Oh, yeah.
I really thought that joke had fallen really flat. I'm glad you just didn't hear what I said, because I said it and then everyone was silent, and I was like, oh.
I didn't quite hear it, but yeah,
Cool.
no, I get it.
What's cool vision?
You know the visions that she has in the show?
Oh my god, Liam.
Oh, I get you.
So
Yeah.
she's
You don't
losing
see
her
cool
vision,
visions.
but she's able to see these things that you can't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's worse for
She is-
you.
So
is
I
what
was
she
implying
saying.
yours was worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get it now?
Yeah, thanks, Kat.
That's okay.
But
Anytime.
I think the thing that, like, really bugged me about Roz was when she was like, I have to read all the books, and I can't lose any time reading books. And I was like, girl, you can read books on your own at home. Like, just because you can't read them for school doesn't mean you can't read a book.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. I think I just liked her because I thought I thought she was quite cool in a way. I don't know what it was about her that I just got good vibes from her, but
Yeah.
Like, she was growing on me by the end. I liked
her grandma was very cool. I liked
Yeah.
her a lot.
Yes, I liked the grandma.
Yeah.
She was
Yes.
like the typical, like, old wise woman who knew everything, basically.
Yeah.
In the episode with the 13 witches, what was the grandma's plan? Because I get her being like, oh, I've seen that I'm going to die, so I'm just going to stay here. But then when Roz and Susie turn up, she's not like, no, girls, you're not getting this. I've seen a ghost horseman is going to come kill everyone. I'm dying anyway. Just go be safe. Instead, the grandma's like, yeah, no, that's cool.
I think she knew about Susie.
But Susie doesn't protect them from the horsemen. The only people Susie protects them from are the witches. And then she's like, oh, is it over? And the grandma's like, no, he's coming. Because he doesn't care that her mum, her aunt saved the witches.
I think
Great
that's
aunt.
a fair question, because since Susie's the only child, she's the firstborn and would have died.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah. The horseman would have been like, yeah, no, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. So let's talk about Susie. Ellie, did you read that article that I mentioned?
No, did you? I haven't had time to track it down.
No worries. So, halfway through watching it, I knew Ellie had started, and I sent Ellie a message being like, is Susie trans? Because I wasn't sure. And I think, Ellie, you initially were like, no. And
No. I think it was more like, I was like, there's not enough like there were definitely little hints.
Yeah, in all fairness,
like,
there isn't enough evidence from what you've seen to know for
I mean,
sure.
even at the end, I am positive, and from stuff that we've read,
Yeah.
I know that the character is non-binary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But-
what I thought was interesting, because you watched more, and then you were like, oh, maybe she is.
Oh no, I was like, oh, I think she's at least non-binary, because there's the scene where her aunt calls her a brave boy and all that stuff, and Susie's not like, well, that's fucking weird. I'm seeing my dead aunt and she doesn't know me. And every time someone refers to Susie as he or says she's a brave guy, she's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah, she seems really happy to be referred to.
But she's also not like, when people call her she isn't freaking out and getting depressed,
Yeah.
which makes me think she's non-binary.
Yeah. No, yeah, and so
or at least gender
there was
fluid.
an article I read. So the actress is non-binary. So not actress, actor.
Yeah.
Actor, and initially the character was written to be trans, and in like the first half of the season was going to come out to like Sabrina and Roz, but then when they hired the actor that they hired, whose name is
Lachlan Watson.
Thank you. They used their experience to inform the character, so the writers worked with the actor to provide a more, I don't think accurate is the right word, but more like honest kind of representation.
Yeah, because they were like, I can represent a non-binary person.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, cool.
Which
I mean,
I thought was
that is still
interesting.
trans.
So there was an article that I read, which was saying, basically, the article was saying that the show didn't do a good job because the writer was bored of seeing like non-binary or trans characters just kind of going through shit. They're like, why can't we just see a happy non-binary or trans character? I'm like, but that doesn't really fit with any other character in Sabrina.
No, but
nobody's happy.
But you can. The issue would have been, right? Like, I don't. It's difficult because the fact that you could end this season and you could say, I don't know if Susie is non-binary.
Yeah.
That means to me that they've done a bad job telling us it, but I also think it avoids a certain bullet, which is doing the just generic, because like you don't have to show. It's not that there's not happy trans people or non-binary characters. I'm trying to phrase what I'm trying to say here.
We're all waiting.
It would have been an issue. It would have been an issue if Susie, throughout the series, her problem was, I'm non-binary and no one accepts me. Because that's the story that everyone just trots out anytime they're like, oh, let's do some trans representation. It's just, look how sad everyone is. So Susie can still have problems, but the moment they make it just, her problem is that no one likes that she's trans, that's when I'd be like, oh, well, that's not representation. That's just you trotting out trans people.
I personally think they actually did quite a good job of just keeping it, like, not the main part of the character.
Which is, it shouldn't be.
I don't feel like people are on board or aware enough of what non-binary means in the, like, general population that might be watching Sabrina for them to be, like, always referring to Susie's character as just they, which is my understanding of what the preference is for non-binary people.
Yeah, that's the standard.
I think it would have been too ambiguous and not clear enough. So what they did instead was kind of keep it more open and be like, well, some people are going to refer to Susie as she because that's what they see and understand. Whereas her grandma, for example, and Roz's grandma and her ghost relative, their ghost relative saw Susie for who they really are, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or it was kind of like, I don't know, I'm talking myself around in circles because it's
no, I get what you're saying.
Not represented
but
enough.
I'm also, you know me, I'm fucking well on top of this, and my attitude would be, if you're gonna do, like, if Susie is gender fluid, that makes sense to me that she would then be she and him.
Yeah.
If they're going to make the declaration that she's non-binary and they then don't go for they/them pronouns, I will be like, well, that's shit representation because you're not.
But I think you also have to remember that if they are going to represent Susie as non-binary in the show, it's fair enough that the people around Susie might not necessarily understand that and use the right pronouns.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
But then
I think that's really what I was trying to say, but couldn't quite.
I get it.
Get the words
but they
in
would,
the right order.
In my opinion, they would then need to deal with that as a thing. Otherwise,
maybe they'll deal with it in the second half.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm not saying it was bad.
Because
I was thinking, Liam, you asking Ellie, like, is Susie trans? I think 20 years ago, if you saw this representation on television, like in the 90s, there wouldn't even have been a question of, is Susie trans? It would have been, oh, is she a lesbian?
Yeah.
Because, like,
I think it's fair that maybe people that don't have as much understanding as we do through, in all honesty, knowing Ellie, I think if we didn't, like, we wouldn't have necessarily known. We would have just been like, oh, maybe she is a lesbian. I don't think it's necessarily setting it that long ago. It's that still within society now there is that like assumption and misunderstanding around that you would look at Susie and be like, oh, she kind of looks like a lesbian. I don't think that's like unreasonable to assume for someone who doesn't know about like trans and non-binary.
I think with her, or with them being a non-binary character, I think with Susie, like Ellie said, I hope they do address that, because I think having those representations on television actually help people understand more.
Yeah, but not if they don't know it. If is kind of my point. Is like if they don't address it, they don't know
it would have been weird if they had just jumped straight to they them and not explained it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like where we are at the moment with like Susie's story in the show is they're not aware yet that they're non-binary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so one other thing this article mentioned, which I thought was interesting and worth discussing, is like Susie's storyline in the first half is that she keeps getting beaten up by these like jocks, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for a show that is quite progressive in some ways, the way that Sabrina and the Weird Sisters decide to deal with that can be seen as super problematic, which when I was watching it, I didn't pick up on. But after reading the article lay it out, I was like, oh, I kind of get that. Which is, you know, they make the jocks like make out with each other.
Yeah.
So then you've got like
and they're preying on the jocks' homophobia.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that can be seen as problematic from like a homosexual representation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that when I watched it. I was like, oh, this
was that. Yeah, there was, for me, it was like they could have done something else to torture those jocks rather than make them make out with each other.
Yeah, like the Weird Sisters, like taking their manhood and like making them impotent for a while.
Yeah.
That seemed like a much more just, like, punishment.
I guess that's more difficult to then, like, portray, if that makes sense. Like, of being like, well, how would that story play out in the, like, alongside the main storyline for us to be like, oh, that's how they got them? Would it have been enough for them to have just been like, oh yeah, we took away their like manhood?
I am just picturing a scene where one of the jocks walks into school though and goes, I can't masturbate anymore.
I can't get it up. But yeah, no, I agree that
like
was
that scene in
problematic.
The Inbetweeners.
I can't remember which scene even.
No.
Where he's just punching himself in the dick, being like, why won't you get big?
Oh yeah.
Very good, Liam.
I have one more question about Susie before we move on. Do you think her aunt is a good, like her ghost aunt, Dorothea, is a good entity? Like a good influence or a bad influence on her?
I feel like she's sort of a role model influence currently. Whether that will then later turn out that she's not that two-dimensional and actually there's more to Dorothy, I don't know whether they're going to bother to do that or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Has she done anything evil? I guess making Susie talk to herself when her dad can hear is kind of not necessarily good spirit territory, because the dad has a couple of times walked in and been like,
who are you
hey,
what was that?
Who are you talking to? Also, is it even... It could be that it's not even real, because isn't her... What happened to her uncle in the end? Or not her uncle, the guy...
it was her uncle. Uncle Jesse, I think was his name. He was like possessed because they had to do the exorcism.
Yeah, that's right.
I just worry about her aunt because like she encouraged Susie to steal a book.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And she also encouraged Susie to like dangerously go into the mine.
Yeah.
That's the biggest question mark for me then. Like, more than stealing the book, because maybe stealing the book was like a greater good thing. But I would argue that going into the mine wasn't, really.
Yeah, because all she got was the helmet, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I did like the literary reference that the book that she was stealing was Virginia Woolf.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, is it a greater good thing or not?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I liked that then, I think it was like maybe the next episode or two when Hilda announces that she needs to move out of the bedroom with, of Zelda, and she goes, I need a room of my own. Because that was Virginia Woolf's thing, is every woman needs a room of her own. I was like, that's some clever writing there. But, I wasn't, I don't know. I that's why I'm like, I'm not sure. I wondered if you guys thought, like, the ghost aunt is a good force or a bad force, or if there's something more going on there.
I could see them taking a, like, I feel like it could be that she's neither. Like, she was a good person in life, but maybe her influence on Susie isn't great because she encourages more dangerous risk-taking than maybe Susie is capable or should be doing, sort of thing.
But again, like, I would maybe think, maybe again that is a greater good thing, that Susie is quite a, like, I maybe there's a better word for this, but like a closeted character. Like, not really a risk taker, not really willing to, she's, like...
More reserved.
Yeah. So maybe doing these more risky things isn't necessarily a bad influence, but more of a, like, come out of your shell situation. Like, gradually easing Susie towards being more open and less reserved. Yeah. Potentially.
I think where we are at the moment, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Like, it could be that it's a force used for their own motivations, which maybe could be put in Susie in harm's way. Like, there could be like a grander plan at play there, or like Kat was saying, it could be a way of, like, helping Susie, like, be more comfortable with who she is and get her out of her shell.
Yeah, I haven't decided how I feel. I'm like, she's helped in some ways, but then, like, encouraging bad behavior,
which I think is good, because that does mean that it's believable for the show to take that character in different directions.
Yeah. And also the way, like, Susie won't tell anyone.
Yes.
About.
That is weird. After Roz is like, I'm seeing visions, and Sabrina's like, I'm a literal witch, and Susie's like, my aunt told me, I read her diary. And you're like, everyone's telling you crazy shit, Susie, just tell them.
Yeah.
I'm pleased that we got to that stage where the friends found out, because that's always, like, an annoying trope in this sort of thing, where it's like, I have to keep that secret.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes me, especially, like, with the Christmas episode, that Roz realizes something is amiss with Susie being gone, and then, like, goes over to the house, and now everybody knows, like, Roz knows they're witches, so they're like, yeah, we're gonna go expel this demon, here, watch the baby. Like, I like that Sabrina's sort of, like, getting her Scooby gang, and I think that's another reason, like, I thought of, like, Buffy is, like...
that's true.
And also, in some respects, the Vampire Diaries, because I don't know that anybody's watched that show. I've watched most of it, but, like, a lot of, like, the mortal friends eventually end up, like, getting their own little powers and things like that too. So, like, in that way, they get to become included and in all the magical hijink. Yeah.
Which, again, does sort of happen with Buffy, because you got Willow goes down the witch route.
Yeah.
Xander, I don't know, loses an eye.
He gets the military knowledge when he when he's in the Halloween episode. I know way too much about Buffy.
Yeah, but then everyone else is either, like, a demon or a vampire in the Scooby Gang, aren't they? Or a werewolf.
Yeah, like, everybody has something going on, and so I feel like you're starting to get that here, which again I like you said, that trope of, like, oh, they can't know about me. I'm always like, okay, let's just get this over with. Everybody find out.
Exactly.
And I liked the way that Roz and Susie were, like, freaked out, and then just like, well, no, of course, you're Sabrina, and we still love you, and we're here for you. And
I did quite like, with the Harvey as well, him being like, oh, you told me this before.
The Harvey.
The Harvey thing.
Yeah, that was good, that it came back to bite her in the arse that she'd wiped his memory. When he's like, wait, you've told me this. And she's like, yeah, I had to wipe your memory. And he's like, oh, right, cool, great. She has done a lot of mean things to Harvey, because wiping someone's memory, that's real bad.
Yeah. That always causes problems in a relationship. Just like in Buffy with Willow and,
I remember when Liam wiped Kat's memory.
Uh-oh.
every day.
It's reset.
Cat wakes up and goes, "Why am I still with you?" And Liam goes, "Here we go. Wipe that memory
That does
away."
explain a lot, you know. It really does.
It does. Yeah.
Can we talk about, very quickly, my second favourite character, who doesn't get enough screen time, but I love him, like, almost as much as I love Thingy.
Is it the guy that owns
Ambrose.
the bookshop?
No, it's Salem.
Oh.
Demon Salem, who I love so fucking much, because he's got such an interesting storyline that they have shown us literally nothing about.
Yeah.
Every other witch forces a familiar into working with them, but Salem is this weird summoned demon that we've seen once in the entire show in his true form, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
He's like creeping around the...
Yeah,
Ooh.
literally just that
Yeah, I
fucking
need
figure
more of
standing
that.
behind her mirror.
I need more of
And then-
Demon Salem.
And he's also like, he solves so many problems, or looks like he knows what's going on, and then Sabrina's like, "No, Salem, shush, go do something." And I'm like, Sabrina, he's the smartest fucking thing here. He's always knows what's going on. Listen to your cat.
But I think people that don't necessarily know much about the world, like the universe of Sabrina, really necessarily know that that's what Salem's doing, if that makes sense. Like,
No, I know.
when he first comes along as the like big creepy demon thing, you don't actually know that he's like super smart unless you know more about
No.
Salem, if that makes
But
sense.
I just love him. He's just great. I also do need to see his creepy demon form, like, at least once more in the next part.
Yeah.
Do you think they made a good choice by not having him talk?
Yeah, well, so the reason he doesn't talk is because in the original sitcom they combined two characters, which was Ambrose and Salem. Because in the original sitcom, Salem is a warlock who can not leave the house. He's broken the rules,
Yeah.
and he is also a cat.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
in this one, they've separated the two characters back out. So
Right.
you've got Salem, Sabrina's familiar, and Ambrose, the warlock in punishment.
I'm fine with him not talking, but I
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way both like Sabrina and Ambrose just talk to him like he is talking to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the season, there are some bits where Salem just walks up, meows, and Sabrina has not a full blown conversation, but she's like, "No, Salem, that's not what I was thinking. I'm going to do this." And I'm like, so clearly Salem has got this whole thing going on. I love it.
I mean, I feel like they handle it the same way, like in Star Wars, whenever R2-D2 talks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like people are like, "Oh, R2, blah 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 blah." Like they,
Yeah.
they kind of repeat what he's saying or answer to it so that you understand what's being said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be weird if they had like a whole scene where Sabrina was just going, "No, yes, sure, no, 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 yeah, okay," and you were like, "Sorry, what?"
Yeah. Another couple characters I feel like we should sort of hit on because they are actual main characters are Mrs. Wardwell
Yeah.
Yeah.
or Miss Wardwell. I love Michelle Gomez. I thought she was fantastic as Missy in Doctor Who. So
I stopped watching like just before she kind of started being in Doctor Who.
she,
Because that was Capaldi, wasn't it?
yeah, I
Yeah.
loved Peter Capaldi as Doctor Who. He's my second favorite after Tennant, but she was fantastic in that. So I was super excited to see her in this. And she does a really good American accent.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't actually know that she wasn't American because I didn't know her from
No.
anything else. So that says
Yeah.
a lot, I think.
She's Scottish.
Yeah.
So
Is she?
Oh, fair enough.
I
yeah,
suppose that makes, yeah.
she's married to Jack Davenport.
What? I actually know who Jack Davenport is, so I'm like, oh shit. Didn't know
Well,
that.
he's
don't, so
connected
I'm
to
less
someone
amazed.
in this show, isn't
Yes,
he?
because he was
Beyond,
in,
obviously,
he was
his
in
wife.
Coupling, and as is what's his face. I can't remember his
Yeah.
name, but yeah.
Richard Coyle, I want to say. Could be
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the show. I'm going to carry on. You guys are all getting distracted by these actors that I don't know, so I'm going to go back
Sorry.
to Miss Wardwell.
Yeah.
She's not the best representation of Lilith, but I'm fine with that.
Hey?
She's Lilith, Miss whatever it is, Miss Satan, but she says, "I'm Lilith, the mother of monsters, the first wife of Adam, who all that stuff," which is the mythological Lilith. That is who she is.
Right.
But Lilith is like, she's co-opted a lot as a pretty fucking good example of proper feminism. She's like the reason, like in the original mythology that surrounds her, the idea was that God made Adam and Lilith, who were equals, and Lilith was basically just like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna let you fuck me a whole lot, Adam. I'm gonna, like, do my own shit. And then got thrown out of the Garden of Eden because she was basically just like, I'm not gonna let a dude walk all over me. And then God was like, yeah, she kind of sucked. I'm gonna make Eve. So, like, the original Lilith is this badass, like, woman who admittedly then went on to become a succubus demon who stole babies a lot. But, like, she's awesome. And then in this, I was like, oh, it's kind of a shame that Lilith is kind of a bitch. Because she's, like, fucking up Sabrina's life. There was a whole bit where it looked like she was going to actually be like, oh, I kind of like Sabrina.
Well,
but then towards the end, she's gone back.
It's like she, at times, you're happy she's there because she is keeping Sabrina safe, but then other times, she's just being super manipulative.
Yeah.
I think Michelle Gomez plays that line really well.
Yeah, she does. There's definitely times where you're just like, is she helping Sabrina, or... Like, is she... Yeah. Oh, it is slightly, like... I know I've used this word, like, a million times in this episode, but it is slightly ambiguous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
I also like that she killed the principal at the end.
Yeah.
Yes, Bronson Pinchot, who I was so surprised to see in this, which you guys might not know who he is.
No.
I do not.
But he played Balky in this sitcom that was on when I was little called Perfect Strangers that I watched.
Yeah, we definitely didn't get that over here.
No, some Americans might know. But, like, I always think, and Balky was, like, this super, like, goofy, supposed to be, like, Eastern European, like, character. So to see him in a more, I mean, it's still kind of humorous, but, like, definitely a more dramatic role, I was just like, oh, that's surprising.
So Ellie touched on an interesting thing there where she said, like, Lilith was like the original form of feminism or something. How do we think the show handles feminism?
I really like how feminist the show is, because it's even calling out, like, as simple as, I mean, talking about, like, the whole idea of, like, Lilith and Adam and Eve, but, like, in the dream sequence that Zelda has, where she's, like, reading to the witch kids, and she's like, and was it bad that Eve did this? No! Like, that kind of stuff, because in Christianity, like, there's so much about, like, women are inherently evil because Eve ate the apple, and I like how much this show calls out that sort of hypocrisy of the patriarchy, and that, like, not just in Christianity, but, like, in this, like, Church of Night also, the whole idea that, like, even at the end, like, Faustus is like, oh, it's my only begotten son, and, like, you know, all of that stuff, and that, you know, Zelda, and, I mean, also Prudence knows about this, and it goes along with, like, saving this girl because she knows that women aren't treated as well, and, like, how much they're constantly, like, calling that out, but then the women are actually the ones that have all the power.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing for me about the show that is like a running theme is this sort of like female empowerment element to it. I mean, that was always going to be the case when you're dealing with witches that have like powers. Like that it's very easy to link that with female empowerment, but there are like moments, and I wish I could remember what it was, but there's a line that I think it might actually be what's her name? Who we were just talking about. Who's it?
Miss Wardrobe.
Yeah, she says something. I wish I could remember what it was, but in this episode that was like, I think I remember being like either saying out loud or thinking, fuck yeah, because it was like this real like feminist moment.
Yeah, I remember you responding to that.
Yeah,
I don't remember what the line
really
was,
annoying.
but I remember
it's going to really bother me that I can't remember what the line was, but yeah, there's definitely moments throughout the series where it is quite deliberately, like, it's almost like pointing, saying, yes, we're being feminist in this moment, pay attention to this, it's, like, important, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there are at least 3 episodes that are directed by women, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
And there are some women writers as well.
Liam, I love how you've,
IMDb
like...
would have, like, a quote spit, but they don't.
I was going to say, I love how you've just, like, brought up this topic of, like, oh, is it feminist, is it not? And then you've just gone, like, super quiet.
Yeah, no, I was checking something.
Okay.
Well, Ellie and Liam got into that at the end of their last Nerd on Nerd episode of, was it feminist or just empowering?
Yeah. I don't remember what we said, because I often don't.
Wait, about Sabrina? Or about whatever we talked about last time? Lumberjanes.
Sabrina.
Okay.
You can't even...
I like how neither one of you remember this.
I think it's a bit of both, generally. I think it errs more on the empowerment element.
I think it is feminist too, though, because it is constantly calling out the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Dark Lord as symbolising the patriarchy...
And Sabrina's like, fuck that.
The main character is literally being like, no, fuck this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even, like, it feels like there's possibly going to be some sort of plot with Miss Wardwell not being best pleased with the Dark Lord after the whole she made a deal with him, and it looks like he's maybe reneging on that deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like...
So I'm sort of hopeful there'll be a big, like, no, fuck the Dark Lord, we're our own thing.
I wonder if there will be something like that, because her whole motive seems to be that she wants to rule in hell next to Satan.
Yeah.
And then her familiar is like, it kind of seems like he's trying to get Sabrina to do that, and then she kills her familiar because of that.
Yeah. That was a bit mean.
She was livid.
She had a cool familiar.
But can she still talk to him? Because she, like, stuffed him and has him in her office.
Yeah, it does feel like in this show, maybe death is not always death, because she then actually speaks to it in the office, and, like, it did feel like... I was expecting the crow to move at that point, so I was like, oh, is it just that she's murdered it, but she's bringing it back?
Yeah. Well,
I guess we'll see.
And speaking of familiars, Ambrose is given, like, that mouse as a familiar.
Yeah, Leviathan.
And I feel like because Leviathan came from Faustus, it shouldn't be trusted.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately
100%.
I was like, oh, that's a spy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that mouse is just going to run all over the Spellman house and report back to Faustus.
Yeah. I also wonder how important its name is, because Leviathan is another thing from that sort of mythology, but I can't exactly remember what off the top of my head. But I know that Leviathan ties into the Lilith myth. The what?
It's a sea creature.
So that's the, like... I think that's the like... where it went to, but originally Leviathan was something else. It was like one of the creatures of Lilith or something, because she is the mother of monsters.
I know it's...
So I don't know...
I know it's also mentioned in the Bible.
Yes, yeah. It's one of those, like, proper mythological things. But I just wonder if it was, like... I haven't researched it, because I equally am just like, it's also quite a good name. And it could easily be they were like, that's a cool sounding name that we could give to a mouse.
Well, my husband's friend named his child that also. So
that's pretty cool.
And calls him Levi.
that's quite cool.
What about Faustus? What do we think about him?
He's a naughty one.
Yeah, very good, Liam.
There's no ambiguity with. That's my word of the day. There's none of that with him. He's just like straight up bad, I think.
Yeah.
Every now and again he'll do something and I'm like, oh, maybe there's a glimmer of hope there, but then I'm like, I'm also pretty positive he killed Sabrina's parents, so...
Yeah.
I think he's definitely... I think he got jealous that Sabrina's father surpassed him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Also weird that he got Zelda into, like, self-flagellation for a little bit.
That was an odd path to go down.
Yeah, he's like, I want to cheat on my wife, and then he's like, well, this is pretty tame, so why don't we also beat ourselves with whips? I was like, okay, what?
Yeah, I kind of feel like they were like, we need a little more sex right now because Sabrina's not going to do that.
Yeah.
And they already had the orgy with Prudence, so...
True.
And Nicholas Scratch, who totally has the biggest crush on Sabrina ever.
I prefer the idea of Sabrina being with him than with Harvey.
Yep.
No, it doesn't work. You said this before.
I don't care if it doesn't work.
No, I know, but she has to date a mortal. She has to date a mortal because the moment she is dating a witch or warlock, you remove the mortal side of her, and the whole point of the show is going to be Sabrina battling with the mortal side of her and the witch side.
I at least want to see them make out.
Yeah.
Oh, I 100% think
that.
there will be a bit where they date.
Yeah.
I think that with this whole breakup, they'll date, but it will end badly and she'll go back to Harvey.
Nah.
Or go back to wanting Harvey and Harvey being like, I don't like magic. I shot my brother.
Yeah, Harvey's a whiny character, isn't he?
I think Harvey's going to end up with some sort of magical powers of some kind, and he's going to have to deal with
that's self-hatred.
Yes. And then he's going to have to come to terms with, he makes decisions the same kinds that Sabrina does, and then he'll be like, oh, now I understand.
He resurrects Sabrina's dead parents, but then they come back as husks, and then Sabrina has to shoot them. I pulled a face there that was like, oh, I wish I hadn't said that out loud.
That would be so horrible.
It would be, and I would not want to watch it.
We had some correspondence about Sabrina.
Read it out, Liam.
So Frankie tweeted us at BristFrankie on Twitter. Yeah, Twitter. After failing twice to get into Riverdale, I was happy to find the series is so good. Also very happy to see Richard Coyle, one of my favourite actors. Look forward to hearing what you all think. Oh, also, Kernan Shipka is so great. I found out she was cast in this just after I saw February, which is also called The Blackcoat's Daughter, and she was amazing in that. I highly recommend it to you all if you haven't seen it, except Amanda doesn't do horror right, best she avoid it. Which, I've heard of that a couple of times recently, and I'm like, I need to see it, but I think finding it in the UK is annoying at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Richard Coyle, I responded to Frankie just saying like, I can't not see him as Jeff in Coupling for like the longest time watching this show.
Who is he?
Have you seen Coupling?
No, just tell me which character he plays in Sabrina.
Oh, Faustus.
Oh, okay.
I've seen Coupling, but I feel like he looks so different in this. It didn't.
I kind of grew up watching Coupling, so anytime I see him now, it's same with Jack Davenport.
Yeah. See, Jack Davenport, I always see him in Coupling more for some reason, but...
That was a good show.
Now, did you have that same problem with Lucy Davis as Hilda? Like,
yes.
Thinking of her from
The Office.
The Office? Okay.
100% yes.
See, this is where me not knowing actors and actresses works really well, because until someone says to me, that person played this person, I don't see it.
Yeah, to be fair, I
unless they're super
vaguely
famous.
recognise them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure I've seen them in something else, and then the living, breathing version of IMDb sitting next to me is like, who do you know them from? And I'm like, I don't know, my brain doesn't work like that. And then he just lists off all the things you've seen them in.
You've just made me realise why he was so upset when I insulted IMDb.
Yeah, because he is IMDb.
He is literally IMDb in human form.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, sorry, that's so funny. My mom has called me the walking IMDb for years.
See, I think, Amanda, this is just like the problems we face as film fans. When we have to talk to the normies, they just don't understand.
Well, the thing that like always blows my mind is if you're like, oh, that person's been in this, and I'm like, have you seen that? And he's like, no, I just happen to know that they're in it. And I'm like, what?
I have that problem too. But so you might recognize then Hilda from Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was the secretary at Candy.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have made that connection though.
Yeah, it's not that I don't recognise them. It's when you
have to tell me.
My brain
you have
doesn't
to
put
be
them
like,
together.
this is who they are.
As soon as you tell me, I'm like, oh, yeah, of course that is. But until then, I get to just enjoy a show without being like, who are they?
It's like we're watching the episode which had a young Sabrina in it. I turned to Kat and I was like, you remember her, don't you?
From
and Kat was
I,
like,
Tanya?
no. And I was like, Gifted, McKenna Grace.
Yeah.
And then Kat was like, oh yeah, I remember now.
Exactly.
See, I will watch it and instantly, I normally, particularly when I'm watching television, when I'm watching a movie, I usually just watch the movie through and then look stuff up. But if I'm watching a TV show, I'll just like pause and I have to go and double check. I'm like, I know that face. What do I know that face from?
Yeah.
And then I go down Wikipedia spirals.
Have we had any other correspondence, Liam?
No?
Oh, okay.
That's it.
So what does everyone give Chilling Adventures of Sabrina out of 5? I should have asked who. Amanda, what do you give it out of 5?
Damn it.
Do you want me to go to someone else?
Yeah, go to someone else first.
Liam.
4 out of 5.
Kat.
4 out of 5.
I think I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. Amanda.
Yeah, I think I'm at 4 out of 5.
Cool.
I liked it a lot, and I'm very it grew on me, like, as it went on.
Yeah, I was like exactly the same.
The second half of the season is definitely stronger.
Yeah.
It is. I did enjoy it from the get-go, but because I was watching it with Kat, and I think because each episode is, like an hour long?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. He's going to moan about me now. Go on.
Yeah. I'd sit down with
It's
Kat.
the Valentine's Day special, Kat.
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day if Liam wasn't complaining about the fact that I don't binge like he does. Go on. Go on, Liam. Go on.
So, I'd sit down with Kat and I'd be like, should we watch an episode of Sabrina? And she'd be like, nah, don't want to, it's too long.
It's sometimes...
And like the issue I had is, because I was into it from like the first couple of episodes. And it took Kat like until probably about episode 6 or 7 to get into it, to be like, oh yeah, let's watch more.
Yeah, and then I'd be like, oh, can we watch a second one? And he's like, no, don't want to watch a second one.
Yeah, I can do 1 a night, but like 2.
This is how it works for me. It takes me longer to get into it, but then when I'm into it, I'm like, I want to like get it watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still have like a lower threshold. Like if I'm like This Is Us, I could have watched loads of that.
No, it's
like,
too hard.
Two's enough.
It's too heartbreaking. I can't be dealing with it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I've had enough of my heart being trampled on. Let's watch something else.
To be fair, by the end of the second season, I was like, I can't do more than 1 a night.
Yeah.
But I'm not criticising Catherine.
Yeah, all right.
I'm just pointing out room for improvement.
Whatever.
Wow.
Happy Valentine's Day. What do we think of, because this is our Valentine's Day special, what do we think of how Sabrina handles the theme of love?
Oh, Jesus, you're really reaching now.
Liam, you can't see. Let me just... I realised my camera's off, so I can't do this very well. What I just did there was I pulled a face and I lifted my arms in a sort of, like, what are you doing? Because what I had done is I'd ended that segment.
Yes.
And I don't know if you noticed that, Liam. I did it quite subtly by asking everyone what to rate it.
And I'll be honest, so what that means I was grateful, because I was like, we're coming up to 4 hours of recording now.
Yeah, I usually do that face when we get to about 4 hours, and I'm like, cool, this is one episode. Yeah, I'm already like, this might have to be a 2-parter. I might have to release this on 2 different days as a 2-parter because this is too long to put on someone's feed.
Yeah.
In one sentence or less.
What we're going to do is we're going to just...
it interestingly.
I'm going to say that, Kat, have you got anything you'd like to plug?
Not really, no. Just...
Oh, you've got a blog?
I haven't written on it for weeks. It's called Creatively Cat, creativelycat.co.uk if you fancy reading content that is irregular.
You're a freelancer.
But you do sometimes get a picture of Liam.
Rarely.
Yeah, very rarely. The more he asks for that, the less I do it. So.
Yeah, it's like correspondence for this show.
So yeah, that's my little plug.
No, you're a freelancer as well. If anyone wants any business needs...
Oh my God, I'm not plugging my business.
Amanda?
So I have several podcasts. We talked a little bit about Criterion Crack. My main podcast is Amanda's Picture Show A Go-Go on Twitter. That's at Amanda's Pic Show. I also do one called The Mafia Minute, where I'm watching currently The Godfather minute by minute with my friend Steven. And then I also do Culture Pop A Go-Go, where I talk about pop culture with my mom and sisters. And you can find all of those on my website, amandaagogo.com.
That's how you plug something.
Yeah, that is
Smashed
impressive.
Me and Liam we do this show and other stuff.
What?
We do this show and some other stuff. There you go.
Yeah. What are we doing next time, though?
Oh, yeah. We're doing... we spoke about it on the podcast, right? That we'd done like a Paranormal Activity... Yeah, we did.
I don't know. Amanda will tell us if we did.
Yes, you did.
We definitely did.
Thanks, Amanda.
Listeners will remember that me and Liam watched the entire Paranormal Activity series, realised it was going to take too long, and started cutting stuff off that list quite quickly. One of those films was the marked ones. Another was Paranormal Activity 2 Tokyo Night or something, which we're never going to find. So next week...
It has a release, right?
Oh, my God.
But the release has... So the release is obviously in Japanese. The subtitles on the release is German or Japanese or French.
Cool. So we're not doing that.
Thanks,
we're
Liam.
doing the marked ones. We're doing the marked ones. And we'll also, before that episode goes up, I'll release the other audio of us reviewing the Paranormal Activity series as a special episode on the stream. So look out for that. It will come up soon in the next 2 weeks. Get in contact with us and let us know what you thought about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina at NerdOnNerd on Twitter, nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com on email, and facebook.com/nerdonnerdpod, all one word.
Yeah.
Rate us on iTunes, YouTube, Nerd on Nerd.
Final thoughts?
Ambiguity.
Yeah. So much ambiguity.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.